advocates whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood. Blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall. One wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Crimes After Dark show. It's a New Year's Day. Happy New Year's, everybody, 2026. I'm super excited. As you know, this is my favorite holiday. I'm super excited. I guess I should ask for a wave backstage. You guys do hear me, right? Right? Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Got my panel backstage waving like the freaking, I don't know, like got your hands in the air like you just don't care. Looking good backstage, you guys. I'll bring you up as shortly as possible here. Amanda B just wanted to say hi. Essie, say hi. Daenerys Targaryen. I'm slaughtering it, but that's close. Becca 1019, welcome. Essie, Tomboy Charm, all these people that are coming in. A good solid start to the night. A good solid start to 2026. We've been super busy. Some of us have been super busy with quote unquote real jobs. And so it's been hard for us to keep up on all the big document drops coming out and multiple cases going on. Since such is the life of true crime, especially when you sit for years and years and years and then have a bunch of unredacted documents dropped on the public. By the way, I want to talk about that tonight. The unredacted documents that dropped in the Idaho. Was that a mistake? Was that a purposeful mistake? I want to get your opinions on that. Let's talk about that. I have some theories about whether or not that was an accident or on purpose or what the hell just happened. But we got a bunch of stuff I don't think we were supposed to see. And so that was interesting, right? And some of us were smart enough to grab that stuff before it got pulled back out. But then that's the hard part, right? Because now if you show it, well, it was redacted for a reason, right? It was protecting PII, it was protecting people's personal information. If we show it, are we violating something? If we talk about it, will people even believe us? Because they'll be like, oh, of course it is. That's not what's on the website. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of shout out to some people again. Bianca Jane, Robin's backstage. We got Dago backstage. We've got, we had one backstage, but he disappeared on us. So I don't know what the hell's going on with Dago backstage. He's completely distracted me. All I see is flashing lights and all kinds of crazy shit backstage. Guy's losing his fucking mind backstage. If I don't bring him up pretty soon, he's going to freaking take over. I'm just completely distracted. What the hell's going on backstage? All right. You know what? In fact, fuck it. We'll do it live. We'll bring him up in the order that's going on. I'll bring the distraction up front. First, Dago, what the hell's going on with this? Oh, you're muted. You got to unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tutu. I am one counterpart. See my lights and sirens there? I'm just sorry.
That's great. I wonder if you can pull people over when you're walking with that thing on your head. You know,
probably.
Be behind him and like, woo.
Put it on my tricycle and put it up there. Yeah, pull
that shit over.
Right. Anyway, good evening, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And forget about it.
And I love it. I'm excited to get going. I've got a lot of optimism going in for this year, so I'm excited.
Well, Lee, this fits, right? We talked about fucking clip-on fog lights last night. So fog lights. Clip-on light bar now.
Okay, well, did you ever? I mean, clip-on fog lights. Anyways, I just, I can't do it. I can't do it. All right, let's bring in Robin. Robin, how you doing? And I see you're getting a kick out of the clip-on fog lights as well. Oh, well, everybody's got lights. Uh-oh, one better get some freaking lights on before he comes.
We got lights.
Hilarious.
Sorry, I just had to do it.
And I have my Hellfires burning for the Devil's Advocates tonight in the background, as everybody can see.
I noticed the tree is down. You've taken the tree down, and you got the great the ambiance for Devil's Advocates. I got flames all around us. You got flames behind us. Oh, hold on. You got actual flames behind you. You should turn around. Just kidding. But no, you're good. So, Robin, what's going on with you?
Oh, hey, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2026.
Yes.
So good stuff ahead, man. Good stuff ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited about I'm excited about the future. I'm apprehensive and excited at the same time. I have good days, I have bad days, but I think mostly I'm excited about the year ahead, and I think there's going to be some crazy things that happen. I have in fact, I did my first. Oh, I tried, by the way, before I bring one up. I need to get better with AI. I wish I had because last night I cut a video that's going to be released tomorrow about predictions for 2026. And I wanted that Swami hat with the thing, and I wanted like a crystal ball in front of me, and I wanted to make some predictions for 2026. And I just don't have the AI tools, so I couldn't turn my hat into a Swami hat. I even asked my wife, I'm like, do we have a scarf? Do you think you could make one of those old like fashion Swami hats? Like, you know, like the and she's like, yeah, forget about it. Forget about it.
Forget about it. It's a fugazi.
So I tried, but why? I was just going to bring one up, and he's dropping out. Can we not get a stable connection on one tonight? What the hell's going on with that guy?
Yeah, where'd he go?
I don't know. He just disappeared. Robin, can you put the link onto the show for people could join us?
I think will.
I know we had a couple people at least say that they were interested in coming on the show as a guest. And so maybe we'll try out some guests tonight, and we'll just have a free flowing pattern tonight. We're not going to have Joe from Stay the Deep. He for sure told me he's out. This is, as some of you know, Joe is also a musician. So he's got a full-time job, but he's also a gigging musician. And so the season is turning up where his gigs are starting to pick up a little bit. So it's going to be a little harder for him to make it to the shows. So and sometimes he'll be coming in a little bit late and join us late. Other times he can't make it at all. So this is one of those nights I think he's not going to be able to make it at all. So anyways, and Jason Estes Crime Maze, he's not going to be as well. He's been nursing also an injury, and so he is not going to be here as well. So we're going to have a smaller panel. But you know what? Here's what's great. Dago's part of the family. Dago's coming on a regular basis. And so, hey, if we get 2 or 3 people here on a regular basis, we've got a surviving panel. So thanks a lot, Dago.
And I thank you for that. that family comment. That means everything. I appreciate that very much.
For sure. We absolutely view you as
There he
family
is.
in this channel. And there's one. If he can hold a stable connection. That's beautiful.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. I like the lights.
What
it's like
is
a theme
that?
tonight. It's a toy. It's a spinny toy. Yeah, I don't know if Robin's got her camera. Hold on. Do I need to get a light out? I think I need to get a light out.
There we go. All
That's
right.
the best I can do. So
It's a
One, and
it's
two,
a-
two.
Magic light reindeer.
All right, so let's start off real quick talking about, and again, I think the link has been sent out for people to join us backstage, so do not be shy, people. We really don't bite. I will say this. Sometimes, especially when there's not more than one guest that wants to come on, I don't want to keep people on for forever. I want to move people in and out. So if after you come on and you say a question or two, we'll have some interaction. The panel will interact with you, and then we might politely excuse you for another person to come on. So don't take it personally if we move people in and out quickly, because it's not. We just got to keep it moving, things moving along. But if you want to have a shot to come up and ask a panel something and have the panelist talk to you, or you just give a point, I would love you to come up. Yeah. So let's talk about that document release in Idaho 4. So a bunch of documents came out, and some of us lost our shit when the first document. I know the first document that I saw, when I realized there was a holy shit. Did they just say Jack DeCour was suspect number 1? Like, I was like, did they just say that? Which, again, as I pointed out, that should have been the case. And so in the one hand, it was confirmation that at least they started down the right path. It still makes you wonder where that suspect got cleared. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't be cleared. Let's be clear. I mean, if he was cleared legitimately and good detective work cleared him, then so be it, that he was cleared. Right. I'm actually encouraged in some regard that I did see him on paperwork. I'd be more discouraged if he never was listed as a suspect. I'd be more concerned. Don't you agree? I'd be more concerned if he never was on there.
Agreed.
Lee, you gotta let me do my intro for you.
Oh shit! Go ahead.
Okay. It'll only be 2 minutes. It won't be too long.
Happy New Year, 1-1. Good to see you tonight.
I'm all fired up.
Happy
I
New
had about 18 cups of coffee. I worked 30 hours.
Yes.
I think my guys responded to probably hundreds of car accidents. No real crazy vibe. It was insane. But
it was bad out here last night.
It's not a good time to drive. Not a good time.
My scanner was going nuts last night. There was accidents everywhere.
Is it just drunk driving, 1-1, or is it icy roads, or
No, well, a little of both, but mostly. We didn't really have I mean, earlier in the week we had snow and ice. It was more so DWE stuff. Just
ours last night was both, because we got like 6 to 8 inches of snow overnight, and it was New Year's, so it was busy.
So first, I did catch a bunch of the show after you guys finished last night. You guys had me bawling off the charts on the clip-on fog lights. I was dying.
Sorry,
but yeah. And I love the tutu name.
Yeah.
Great. All right, here we go. Den in the dark, where the headlines stop telling the truth and the echo chamber gets louder than the facts. There's a place most people refuse to go. A place where questions are dangerous, where certainty is comfortable, and where doubt is treated like a crime. Welcome to Devil's Advocates. This is not a podcast for easy answers. This is not a show for hot takes, clickbait, or courtroom cosplay. This is where we slow everything down, strip the narrative bare, and ask the questions no one else wants asked. Because truth doesn't live in absolutes. It lives in the gray, in the contradictions, in the uncomfortable silence between what we're told and what actually happened. Here, we don't argue innocence. We don't argue guilt. We argue assumptions. We challenge timelines. We dissect evidence. We examine motive, opportunity, bias, pressure, and power. And when everyone else picks a side, we pick it apart. This is a show where popular opinion goes on trial, where narratives don't get a free pass, and where belief is never mistaken for proof. Because history is full of cases where everyone was sure and everyone was wrong. If you're here for comfort, you won't find it. If you're here for certainty, you won't keep it. But if you're here for truth, the real kind, the messy kind, the kind that doesn't care who it offends, then you're exactly where you belong. Ladies and gentlemen, skeptics and critical thinkers, welcome to Devil's Advocates, where we don't tell you what to think, we show you why you shouldn't stop. And with that, live from New York, it's Thursday night.
Thank you very much for the... Yeah.
Always awesome. Always awesome.
Thank you very much. I love how someone says, this feels like the start of an AA meeting. Hi, my name is Lee. I'm a constitutionalist, a believer in the Constitution of the United States. It's my first meeting, long time constitutional believer.
Yes. Hi, my name is Pedro. Forget about it. Yeah.
So it's good. It's good to have these kind of minds come together. One of the reasons why we assembled this panel is we all are critical thinkers. I think it's funny because at some point the term conspiracy theorist, I think, is a better word for it, is critical thinker. Because again, being a conspiracy theorist oftentimes is just asking questions that make people uncomfortable. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, you're a critical thinker. Critical thinker has a lot less baggage on it than I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I am a critical thinker, and I think all of you guys are critical thinkers as well. And we ask those difficult questions, which I like. Again, to return what I was saying before. What about this Idaho 4 dump with those documents that were later retracted? I guess I'll just open it for discussion. Was that a mistake? And first of all, and was it an intentional mistake?
It has to be. I mean, unless someone involved, like they're, just is like, I'm going to throw this out there. They purposely did it, or it's just someone is just a baffling idiot. Because we've been arguing for how long, months, years, about what's the difference between some kind of interview document reference that has absolutely everything to do with the case, like redacting the Sigma, the name of a sorority, the name of a fraternity.
Why redact
that? But now I need to know Dylan's social security number. I need to know Dylan's phone number. Like, what the hell is going on?
And I said, like, last night, I was like, I gotta wonder if this is somebody that is possibly on the same thought process we are, and they're sick of the bullshit. And they're like, you know what? Here you go. Try this one on for size. You know what I mean?
They know that we grab it real quick.
Of course they know.
They know we're not gonna. We'll jump on it. So
I could be out there. But let me tell you what I see. I'm going to go conspiracy theory on you a little bit. When I was reading the Moscow Police Department early document dump after the conviction, and they said, okay, we're going to start releasing documents, and they had that massive document dump, I was stunned at the utter lack of follow-on questions from Moscow Police Department. I was stunned that they didn't do this, they didn't follow up on that. Why didn't you follow? I mean, I was so irritated, right? And then Idaho State Police came out, and I personally, I'm just going to tell you how I saw it. Idaho's investigation was a lot different than Moscow's. Idaho was asking difficult questions. Idaho officers seemed to not believe, in my opinion, my personal opinion, they didn't believe Dylan's statement. They were asking, they literally said, is there something you're not telling us? They were skeptical of it.
Yeah.
Moscow was not. Moscow was soft pedaling her questions. Now, again, maybe I'm reading way too much into it.
No, you're not. You're right. You're right.
I don't think you are.
Right. I think her name was, what was it, Gooch? Gooch
from
Idaho. Yeah, that seemed like an authentic, like a real authentic kind of interview.
She's the only
really right.
Yeah. And so where I'm going with that is one of the early document dumps, 2,000 something pages of documents got dumped, and they quote unquote made a mistake and showed Brian Koberger's name as suspect number 2 on December 5th. And all along, they've said, we didn't know, on the stand, we didn't know Brian Kohberger's name until the 19th of December when the FBI told Moscow Police Department about the name Brian Kohberger. We didn't know. And Taylor repeatedly, so you'd never heard of Brian Kohberger's name until the 19th? That's correct. We heard about it on the 19th. And then comes an Idaho document with one page with the name Brian Kohberger on the 5th of December. And I went, holy shit, there it is. They did know Brian Kohberger's name prior to the 19th. And for those who don't understand why that's important, it's important, and I can explain it or we can explain it, whatever. But the point being is they officially kind of came out and said, oh, that was a clerical mistake, that Brian Kohberger's name wasn't really on that paperwork. It was some kind of software thing that accidentally put it on there. And I said on that day, it felt like somebody wanted to leak something to the public to let you know that it was there to go look. It just felt that way. Like somebody purposely accidentally left that name on that document. And then comes this document dump where you see Jack DeCour's name. And I swear to God, it has a feel to me, and maybe I'm nuts, that Idaho knows something sketchy happened at Moscow. And they don't want to come out and just rat on Moscow and say, you fuckers fucked up this investigation. But they want the public to know it. So they've made little leaks to go, oops, we made a clerical error. But now that the cat's out of the bag, if you guys demand we look into it, we'll look into it. That's what it feels like to me. Am I nuts? Is that possible?
No. I think that's how we got that, that Jules got that video. I don't think that video is supposed to have audio that she got. I think because it was a person who was not normally there when it happened. So
yeah, it's interesting too. That's a good point and a good thought, Lee. I have a tendency to believe that you're right on point with that.
And it would make some sense, right? Because I mean, it's bad form for a law enforcement department to investigate another law enforcement department. You don't want to come out and say, hey, you fuckers did something sketchy. Right. That would be bad, right? Like there's kind of a brotherhood in law enforcement. One should know, right? There's somewhat of a, so I don't know that it's good form to like rat out, but could you do it through, oops, our assistant put something out there and it was a clerical error, or it was over this, or somebody accidentally did something, and then some low-level person can take the sword if they want to, and they're kind of excused for leaking it out there to the public. I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense. They're not going to ever call them out to their face, right out in front, because of what the repercussions would be. But something like this would be real sly, and a real sly way to do that. And I absolutely agree.
Now, to be fair, I mean, it could be a mistake. It could just be a mistake. It could be sloppy, rush to work. It could have been like the Jules situation, right? That audio, from what I understand, the audio that got released to Jules, the one that has all those screams, right? Somebody wasn't, the person who gave her that file wasn't the normal person that works there that day. There was somebody else filling in that day or something to that effect. And if that's the story, was it literally an oh shit moment because somebody that was working there and didn't know they should have not released it? Or was that a cover story for how it got out into the public?
To be fair, it has been a holiday, and they may not have the original people working, over the holiday period. Some people are on vacation over the holidays. So some people may not know what they're supposed to be doing as far as we're supposed to hide this, we're supposed to hide that type stuff. And that's a possibility too. I will say that much.
Now, technically, they get in a lot more trouble in other words, where am I going with this? They can't just hide it from the public because they want to, right? That's not the way it's supposed to work.
No.
So saying that, somebody made a mistake because they never should have released it. In theory, if you make a public records request, unless they have a really fucking good reason, and it has to be in writing what the exemption, there's only certain exemptions they can use. It's exempt from being shown to you because of XYZ. They need to tell you why they're exempting that, and it has to be agreed upon that that's a legal grounds to exempt you from it. So they're supposed to cough that stuff up when asked. So I don't know that it was clearly a mistake to have given it to us because they're supposed to when asked, unless they have.
I mean, the big thing is, did Ann Taylor see this video? I mean, I don't know how the defense could have seen 2:30 to 3:30 and not been screaming from the top of their lungs. I mean, you had Ron, I don't know his last name, with the custody queens, the appellate, the appellate. He said he would have been running down screaming at to the court. I mean.
Yeah,
doesn't matter, and I understand, I get it, like the people who are the guilters. But you don't know what it is. It's a bunch of people partying. I don't care. I don't care if it's a bunch of circus clowns. It doesn't matter. What it sounds like something is going on. And as Lee perfectly, put in a video to show you the contrast between 410 and 420 and 230 to like the 330. It's not always what you hear, it's what you don't hear. And people have to remember the defense doesn't need to prove who killed these people. They just need to know there's reasonable doubt, and that if they can prove that the crime happened in a completely different timeline, which I think the evidence is there. I think it's it's circumstantial, yes, but I think enough of it is there when we positively know that Brian Kohlberger was not even. We know from their timing advance records or phone records that he wasn't even in Moscow, Idaho at that time at 2:30. Right. So he clearly could not be there when people are screaming and agonizing.
Yeah. I mean, it's reasonable. It's reasonable doubt for days for any jury, in my opinion. Because again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you're right. The difference between what you hear or what you don't hear at 4:10 in the morning, and again, the PCA will make reference to, you can hear a thud and a dog bark as some kind of meaningful sounds that you can hear from 1112. Yet they ignore the screams of what sound like torture, pain, anguish between 2:30 and 3:30 and say, well, there's nothing going on there. But that thud you hear at 4:10, like that thud is killing of 4 people in the house next door. You hear a thud. You don't hear their screams. You don't hear anything else. You just hear a thud because remember, everybody was sleeping. But then later on, they're awake. Yep. So, by the way, I haven't had time to dive through the documents. They've been out for a while now. We did get a copy of the files, so they're still in my possession, and I can still go through them. You had a couple things that maybe to queue up, right? To queue up.
Well, yeah, I'll mention them. So. The one I wanted to, we talked about this in the past, but I know there's so many different documents or whatever, but if you want to, I guess, first show I guess is a picture or a JPEG that's actually from Dago's. It's a screenshot from Dago's what he was showing the other day, but.
So I didn't see that. I saw 2 files with links to video files in my folder for tonight's show. I got the video files queued up. Did you have a screen?
Yeah, there's a JPEG. There's an image in there.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
It should say today's show 1/1/2026.
Yep. Oh, I see it now. Yeah, it wasn't there earlier, I don't think.
Yeah, it's literally so this is a screenshot. It's a picture from my phone of the YouTube, if it loads.
Yeah, if I can get it to present to stage. Why is it not going to stage?
There you go. This is literally from during Dago's his stream the other day, but he's here. He can tell you that picture is an official picture from the documents. So it's not so I know Lee, we're big about things not being edited and played around with. It's an official, that picture that you see of the house, of the back, so why we're showing it's just not 100%, not a definitive thing, but it kind of, if you zoom in a bit, it does look like there's a little peeling on it. Is this a bullet hole? It's left for a question,
So
and
that would have been, that's on the side of the house, I think the east side. Maddie's,
right?
Yeah, that's Maddie's wall to her bedroom.
Right.
Okay. It's one hole. It looks like a exit hole. If it is a bullet hole.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It would have came out, as he said, the peeling. You can see where it peeled open as it came through, if that's what it is.
Right.
So yeah. It's something that one of my mods caught a while back, and it came from the ISP doc drop. Okay. So
that was before, right.
Absolutely.
And then Lee, right now, if you want to play, the document that says, I think it's like a 2-minute video. It's a little clip.
The video, it's a different topic though, right? It's a different topic.
Not the one that says Phoenix.
Okay.
But the reason why you'll see why. Why.
Okay, so you're talking about
there's two documents. One says like something.
This one?
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can't really.
see.
It's hard to.
I don't know if I have the audio on this one. I got to make sure. Hold on, let me make sure the audio is on. Let's put this on share screen.
But I thought
the one I sent you earlier today.
I thought this was super interesting because
all right, so we're gonna play the 3 minutes or okay,
or a bunch of it at least, I guess.
Phoenix here. Good morning. Happy New Year to every single one of you out there in social media land. So let me just say this once. This solidifies everything I have been saying for the last God knows how long. I know other people have been saying it. I have showed you video of a flash that looks like a pew, bang, bang. And now the records that were released do in fact say firearms and other weapons. So for those of you who don't believe, go back and watch my previous videos here and on the YT, which I do share all my videos on the YT on this subject. I have followed this case closely, and I mean very closely. I have given you all the information before it has actually been released and came out based on my natural, unprofessional, investigative instinct. That is your gut intuition. See, we all have free will to listen to whoever we want out there in social media land. But let me tell you this. I stick with the facts and the evidence and what the video and the audio, if the audio is factually true, and the documents, the court documents, these documents all tell the story that you want to know. To put your mind at ease, I told you 2:48 a.m. was the time investigators were questioning people on where they were at that specific time. Now that you see this, do you not believe me about this? Everything is falling in place as it should. And this new year, we will be sharing more of these documents. So we got the story in the beginning of the Idaho 4 through Steve and Christy that some relative called them and said that the party was pew-pewed up, banged up, and have you talked to Kaylee? Now, even the canvassing videos, one of the guys that's interviewed said, oh, we heard that somebody was pew-pewed, that we didn't hear anything in the neighborhood, but we heard. Now, a lot of these witnesses are very guarded. Within this society of the Greek life and this and that, they keep things pretty quiet. So I'm surprised that now that these documents have mysteriously disappeared, many of us were able to download them. They're on Justice for All. And look here at the evidence that the forensic reporter shared. Now, keep in mind, in the documents themselves, right here, there was an expert weapons person coming to testify about all this. But go over to the YT. I'm going to be talking about it tomorrow. I'm going to take the day off. Have a great day, every single one of you out there, and have a prosperous 2026.
I just thought this was super interesting because, you know, obviously we have we see, you know, the hole in the wall over there. I know the flash, the weird like flash that she's talking about actually takes place in front of 1119, I believe. I don't know the timing. I guess it's around the 2:48, which she's talking about. So still, with seeing a weird flash on the 1119, on the 1112 camera there, and also, you know, holes, some weird looking holes in the wall, you know, and now we have a document saying that they're requesting firearms, other weapons, you know, investigation.
And there's a video. There's a video out there of one of the responding officers saying something about a pistol.
Right.
I think Birdie put it out, and it just.
So the question is, why are they trying to hide this? Why?
And they're talking about looking for cells at one point too.
Is, you know, this makes me think that one of these officers was involved in something. It really does. But I don't know.
So,
I don't know if it's Rosie, Tisdale. I hate to, I hate to make allegations or whatever. But we know Rosie and Tisdale were there. He was there. I mean, even Pav, Almighty Pav, even showed that he's pretty much narrowed down that Rosie was at 1122 somewhere between 3 and 3:30 or maybe a little later. Again, Molly described the unmarked car. Molly described Tisdale was not.
And there's one big problem with that too, you guys. If you go back and think about Molly's statement, she testified that she saw Tisdale. We know there was 2 police officers in that vehicle that night, but she only saw one. Okay.
Yeah.
So where was he at during that circle? Where was he at that point?
Right. And that's what I like to double down on the fact. I think Ann Taylor was on. I think she was onto this. I do. And I know there's a document somewhere in there. Lee has mentioned it before. I know she was requesting to get the phone records and all the info from the officers who were working that night. And I guessing that never happened.
Probably not, but I mean, it's very interesting. I agree with you. Like, where was Rosenthal at when that circle was done, and Molly only saw Tisdale? He wasn't just
right. Well, that's how. I mean, that's how you could prove by their phone records would prove it.
Yes.
I guess I don't know how she would go about. Obviously, you would need, just like. For me at work, I mean, I have a department cell phone, but I also have my regular phone.
Yeah.
My job can't just take my phone and say, they would need to get a warrant like they would with anyone else.
Absolutely.
But
right.
I guarantee you, I put 99.9%. I would bet a lot of money, willing to bet that you would see one of 2 things, somewhere between 3 and 3:30, 3 and 3:40, whatever the time is. You would see one of 2 things. You will either see a weird text message or exchange between Rosie and Tisdale. Oh, come around, come get me now, and then we would know exactly. Well, why did you text him? Come get me. I thought isn't he sitting next to you in the car? And if we don't have that, the other bombshell thing, kind of, although we wouldn't have the definitive proof of what actually was said, would be if there's a phone call. Now, why is that a bombshell? Well, it's common sense. Why would Rosie be calling Tisdale on the phone if he's sitting next to him? So one of those 2 things would tell you that Rosie had a separation,
What are your thoughts, Robin?
Well, I really believe, we heard Christy and Steve say about, the party being shot up and everything. And we've heard that several different places, not just from them. So the possibility of there actually being a gunshot at some point, it's starting to look more credible. It really is. And I know, there's the whole thing about the silencer and all that, but could that thud, could it not be a thud? I mean, I realize we have to speculate a little bit because we still don't have definitive proof, but
no,
it is starting to look more credible.
Yeah. And I will say something else in regards to the Rosie and Tisdale thing. It's kind of interesting that Officer Rosenthal disappeared within days of this crime happening and moved on to wherever he went to. Okay. There's too many little things here that create one large thing, in my opinion, that we need to be looking at. I feel strongly about. I'll just say that much.
Yeah.
I know that when in the early part of the investigation, I caught So that bullet hole picture has been out for a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember the first question I had was, because everybody who jumped on the gun theory pointed the bullet hole as there's proof that a gun went off that night. You don't know when that hole, you don't know that hole hasn't been there for 15 years in the side of that house. That's the fundamental problem with the hole.
That's correct.
Is you can't, and it doesn't have an evidence marker on it. So it's not indicating that the police indicated that was a bullet hole that they thought was part of the investigation, or you should have seen some kind of tag, some kind of mark indicating we think this is related to the crime. So what you had is you had people take a picture to the side of the house with a hole in it and say, look, there it is, proof that somebody fired a gun in the house. Now, having said so, I've been aware of the hole. Again, let's be careful. This is like for me, this is like the gun rack guy thing. You tell everybody it's a gun rack, so now everybody tells you heard a gun rack. You heard a sound and somebody called it gun rack guy. Same thing here. You see a hole and now we're calling it a bullet hole. You don't know that that's a bullet hole. Now, like you said, is there indication of peeling, like something's coming out from inside? All of those things are great points. But let's be careful of saying that's definitively a bullet hole.
Oh yeah, no, not definitive.
And be careful to say that we know what happened that night, that hole hadn't been there for 10 years. Because I want to see a picture of that house 5 years ago, see if that hole is still there. So we have to be careful about that. And so that's part. But I will say this about the gun thing. I saw as well, and I can't remember the guy's name. It was kind of buried in the documents, but there was a expert that was being brought on by the defense. He had written something like 20 books on, in particular, sexual assaults against females. I think he called it femicide. He was a professor that had written books on femicide crimes against females. In addition to experts in like firearms and stuff like that were part of that initial investigation. They had somebody in there that was going to talk about firearms. And I remember asking the question in the beginning, why the hell is the defense having a firearms expert part of their testimony if no gun is involved in this case? Why is there a person coming onto the crime who has to do with femicides, which is sexual crimes against females, if nobody was raped in the house and there was no evidence of a sexual crime? Like, what the hell is happening with the defense witnesses or experts if they're bringing in sexual assault experts and firearms experts into a crime that they said there's no signs of sexual assault and no gun was used?
Take that into effect, Lee, and I'm sorry, Robin, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were, but take that into effect. And remember Olivia Goncalves' victim impact statement. Okay. She purposely threw out a part of her statement, referenced a certain type of a person. She called Brian. Okay. It starts with a P. I didn't want to say it here because I don't know how you feel about that, but that has a sexual tone to it. Okay, folks. Is she hinting around to something? Is she adding that in for a reason? We don't know. But it makes you wonder, is there something that they kept from us about a sexual assault, possibly in this case for some specific reason? Is there something that was found that maybe relates to something? Is there some other type of DNA possibly that we don't know about? They're withholding and hiding, blah, 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 things like that. And I just wanted to reiterate on the backside of what 1-1 and Lee were talking about. When I spoke about that hole that we saw inside the house, I also said, guys, you guys were there that were there. It could be from a tree branch. It could be from this, that, anything else, guys. It's just interesting. That you got to be very careful because we don't know. But it's I want to look at everything as a whole and then deduct at that point. So
and I want to be clear. I'm not trying to shut down the gun conversation. I remember 1-1 himself even said there's, initially 1-1, right? You said there's no way a gun was fired, and that place is so tiny and so close together. There would have been a million calls for a gunshot. So to walk that back a little bit, we're like, well, wait a minute. If there was a gunshot, if we're now saying that maybe there was a gunshot, again, it leads to that initial question: why didn't anybody call? Now you could argue, well, why didn't anybody call for hearing terrified screams between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning? So the same silence can explain the gunshot. Let me add one more thing about the gunshot. One more thing about the gunshot that I wanted to add, to be fair. And that was, I can't remember. It wasn't Nunez. There was an officer's body cam. I had only seen it just recently, where they're in the kitchen and I think they're talking to Lanner, Detective Lanner.
Corbin Smith. It was his
Corbin Smith. And he said, I think he said Payne or somebody had asked him to look into the possibility of firearms being used. That was caught on camera. They were talking about, they want to know, is there any evidence of a firearm being used? So that was a question that's being answered. And then they took it, muted the whole conversation between that officer and Lanier about what was going on, right? And so you have to wonder, and then you kept hearing all through the trial, there may have been more than one weapon involved, and Steve Gonsalves came out late and said they're telling us now that more than one weapon is involved. But then I was there for the press conference when they said, well, wait a minute. Steve now tells us that there was more than one weapon involved. And there was an uncomfortable look as they looked at each other like, how do you want to answer it? And their answer was political bullshit. We still maintain the crimes were committed by a knife. They didn't want to commit to, yes, there was more than one weapon involved. So when someone called them on it and said, wait a minute, we're now hearing there's more than one weapon involved. And they looked at each other like, well, what the fuck are we going to say? Well, we're going to stick by our thing. We've always said that it was committed by a knife. But they kind of tipped off that there was more than one weapon involved. Now, was it a gun? It doesn't prove that. Was it was a crowbar? It doesn't prove that. We don't know what the other weapon is, but it does seem to be that there was. And again, last thing on my big, huge rant is there was an expert that was going to come forward and testify that they thought that this crime was committed by more than one type of weapon, by more than one person, and possibly on both floors at the same time.
And then you add to that too, Lee. When they gave us and this is based on my experience and as a first responder, medic, all that kind of stuff, you add to that the generic autopsy results that we received that were not 100%.
Yeah, what is it? Crap.
An intracranial fracture, an intracranial fracture on Kaylee. Her face was completely and totally destroyed, and she also had intra. I'm saying this clearly for a reason. Intracranial fractures. Okay.
Yeah.
Inside her skull had fractures. Now, you got to get somehow inside there to make that happen. So if you think about the fact of the possibility of a bullet being shot into somebody's face, trigger warning. Okay. It bouncing around inside. Guess what happens, guys? I'm just saying these are theories based on, what they're showing us. It doesn't mean it's real. It doesn't mean that's what happened. It just means it's something else to think about. That's all.
Yeah, like for example, boy, I just got too many things in my head. First of all, somebody I pinned a comment from somebody. The wounds don't match. That was a comment that Steve Gonsalves made. The wounds don't match. So again, not to run away with yourself, but is that a hint that somebody's wounds don't match the other person's wounds? Maybe some people were killed with a knife. Maybe somebody was shot. That might be an explanation for a thing. Their wounds don't match. But he did clarify, or did he clarify or just add their points of damage are different. So there was a lot of ways he phrased the wounds don't match, their points of damage don't match, or the injuries don't match, or was it just more grave? There's a lot of ways that could be interpreted. Along your point, Diego, and I don't know if that's what you're meaning, but like, for example, a common problem with small caliber, like a 22 bullet, right? A 22 will go in and often bounce around inside a skull, right? Because it doesn't have enough power to exit. So, but again, that would be a problem with the exit wound on the side of the house. And that hole is probably bigger than a 22 hole. So I don't think that's a 20, but you're right. Like if a 22 had been used, for example, it could bounce around inside of a person's skull, because that's notorious what a 22 bullet does. It doesn't have enough, exit velocity to get out. It just bounces around.
Which could cause intracranial fracturing, folks. And it could be, the hole we're looking at obviously is going to have a bigger hole as it exits than what it is on the entrance. Okay.
Yeah.
So it could be 22. It could be something completely different. It could be absolutely nothing. Please understand that, everybody. Okay. But we like to look at everything, because if we don't, we're going to miss something. Is all I'm saying.
Right.
And by the way, I know that Robin, you pinned this, but I always like to shout out the gifters. Thank you so much for the donation to the channel and for the support of what we're doing here. We do like to talk about all these things, even though, and by the way, I know you might have saw how quiet I got during that whole conversation of the bullet for a while there. I can't get out of my head. And I realized that Phoenix was on TikTok, but I cannot stand pew-pewing. These people were pew-pewed. Oh my God. Like, this is why I moved away from TikTok. I get why you do it, but they weren't fucking pew-pewed. They were shot. A gun was used. Not just, and they kept going on and on. Pew-pewed. They got pew-pewed. And I'm like, no, they got fucking shot.
I don't do it either. Don't feel bad. I don't do it either.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I just thought it was super interesting to bring up.
Very much so.
Obviously, we have no definitive, proof. We're not saying 100% that anyone was shot or not, but now we have the document that shows that they definitely were doing some kind of firearms related investigation. So that just makes you think. Things that make you go,
Yeah. In the very beginning, I can't remember which officer it was, but it was towards the end of, I think, Nunez's body cam, maybe, where he said, I need you guys to spread out and start looking for shell casings, blah, 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 so on and so forth, and things like that. Protocol or not, they still said it. They're looking for things like this for a reason, guys. They're not looking for it because somebody fell and hit their head. I'll just say that.
By the way, I don't know about the ballistics and the sound, and I don't have it on camera to show you. But when I was breaking down Jules's long, the one that first came out, the 2:30 in the morning or 2:25 in the morning to 2:30 in the morning of audio, I pointed out in the house, and again without the reference, I hope people will understand this, in the 1119 house down at the end of the street, there's a moment where you see, you hear what sounds like for lack of a better word, you hear a snap.
Yeah. Yes.
And then you see a bright flash in the lower corner of the window on 1119. And
I think that's 248. I think that's 248.
Yeah, I think that's what Phoenix is talking about.
Right. And I said to people, I said, is that consistent with Bethany saying, I heard a firecracker and I saw a flash of light? And you literally, and it seems to me that you hear the sound and then you see the flash of light. It seems like there's a delay between things. So I've been trying to figure that out. The camera. So was it just the camera snapping?
I think the camera was the delay, and I think because I watched that too, that flash thing. We went over that 1,000 times. I think it was delayed, just like, for instance, like I told you guys before.
The door, when
you hear the door shut,
the door shut. It's right.
You hear it shut 3 seconds.
It's a few seconds later, right?
Yes, there's a definite delay on the camera. So,
but when I saw that, I thought to myself, well, is that consistent with a gun going off? Something caused the flash. And it was such a bright flash that it was reflected off of a window clear down at the end of the fucking street. So, you don't, and I guess where I'm going with that is like you, I watched that over and over again. I'm looking in the foreground. What in the foreground lit up that would make that? And there's nothing. It had to have been behind the camera, in my view. Something behind the camera.
That's where I was getting ready to say to you. Thank you for saying that. We know the angle of the 1112 camera pointing at that house. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a pathway that runs beside 1112 that leads directly to the front door of 1122. We know that too. So if by some chance, and Bethany's in that hallway, okay, now a muzzle flash in the interior of a place is bright. It's very bright. Okay. Bethany specifically said she saw orange fire-like flash, is what she said in her interview. That's not a taser. That's not a flashlight. No, that's not a firecracker. That's not a taser. Thank you. And a taser, I've tried to tell people, it makes a clickety-click noise. It's white. It's flashing like lightning, okay? Right. So knowing those things and the angle, you guys, if it were to flash possibly in that doorway, in that vicinity, it could reflect off that window because it is directly from, almost at that angle. You know what I mean, Lee, with what you were saying?
Yeah. Of
that house across the street from 1112.
Let's restate this the way we did with the audio. You know what you don't see between 4:20 or 4 o'clock and 4:20 in the morning is a flash off the window at 4. Again, everything those girls say happened between pretty much at 4 o'clock in the morning. You don't see or hear any of that evidence between 4 o'clock in the morning, but you hear almost exactly everything they said. A flash of light, the attacks happening. Almost everything happens at a time that they said it didn't happen, but yet it's still consistent. And what do they? And I hate to say this, but what do they always say? The best lies are based on truth, right?
Truth, that's right.
You tell the truth, but it's a lie because you want to go as close as you can to the real thing. So if I were telling a lie, I would tell you details that were true, but just tell you that it happened at a different time than it really happened.
There has to be some truth for it to be a lie, period. That's all there is to it. Yes.
Everything me. You had a question I put up on there. You said, "Isn't this a normal part of normal investigations?" The answer to that is no. If I respond to a scene, or my officers, and it's clear, we would get EMS would be. Dago covered this. I know it keeps coming up. That's a whole nother line of thing that we can go down. At least in NYPD where I work, right? We go in, we check for signs of life. We try to, render some immediate aid if EMS is not there. And obviously, with that in mind, we're also trying to clear the residence or clear the area, make sure there's no threat. We have to remove the threat. Once there's no threat, then EMS comes in and they do what they have to do. But I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
You remind me of a question. So Dago, you were on, you said firefighter and EMS. Did you do EMS work as well, or? Okay. I got a question for you. I never asked you this directly. I've talked about this at length, but I've never asked you directly. Mm-hmm. And so, and literally, I'm not, how do I explain? I just want you to answer. If there's a great answer, just give me the answer. Okay. So
yeah,
I've always been bothered by, and one kind of addresses this, but I want to hear your perspective. I've always been bothered by when the EMS units show up, and there's a lot of them, and they got their bags and their stuff and they're ready to go in the house. The police stop them and don't let them go in. And I thought to myself, this is weird to me. Why wouldn't an EMS person make the determination about the death? Why is it true that it's just so obvious that the bodies were dead? There was no need for any first responders to go in and actually see if there was living suspects. Could somebody have been holding on by a thin thread with a very shallow heartbeat and maybe been resuscitated? And should they have allowed EMS to go in there and make the fucking determination? Or is it normal for the police to say, hey, in this case, you guys don't need to come in?
No.
Okay.
No way. But I'll let Dago answer. Yeah, we covered this, but no.
I've answered this question many times. You're not the only person that's ever quit. I did it in my first, I flipped out in the very beginning. When in this case, I flipped out. Like, what the fuck? Why did you shut them down? Where are they at? Blah blah blah. Okay. Anyway, and understand, I want to point something out real quick. When the first responders showed up, walking up the hill, and you show. On the body cam, you see them, they stopped them. If you look at every one of them, there was 2 medics there, the rest was EMT. I could see their patches on them, okay?
Yeah.
They were all wearing respirators. Know that first, okay? That's not a normal response protocol for they were told, this has been a while, that you're going to need a respirator for this one. We don't walk in this yet wearing respirators unless we're told ahead of time. This is well,
that's interesting in itself, isn't it?
It's because of the dead bodies, right? Because of the bodies.
I noticed every one of them had a respirator around their neck, and I went, okay, there was a conversation there. So anyway, that being said, I wanted to point that out to you first and foremost. But they walked up the hill, they stopped them, and no, I've never seen, to answer your question, I've never ever seen EMS turned away like that. Now, I will say this, like I said before, there is a lot of police officers that are cross-trained as medics, EMTs, so on and so forth. That's great. It doesn't matter. There are, in most cases I've ever been to, everyone I've ever been to, PD goes in. A protocol is that we'll go into a scene such as this. If it's not natural causes, okay, I'll put it this way. If it's not natural causes and they don't think that it was a 75-year-old man that died of a heart attack or something, or somebody clearly fell down the stairs or whatever, and even then, PD shows up first. They have to clear the scene before we can go in. Okay, that has to be done, which was done.
Sure. There. Yeah.
Once they clear the scene, it's secure. In we go. We look at the situation. Yeah, they're gone. Somebody will check a pulse, whatever it is. They're gone. We sign off. Boom, boom, boom. We walk away. End of story. I've never seen that happen before like that ever, and I flipped out in the beginning because of it. So.
I've never seen it either. I've never seen it. Usually EMS is right. Once we clear, they're right because they get there quick.
Well,
they get the job. They're usually right behind us.
Yes. Let me ask you this now. The call was a passed out person. It was not a PD call. You know one yourself that 911 call was not something that that law enforcement should have responded to first. That should have been us and then you.
Right. Thank you. I've been wondering that too. Like the police come flying in like a bat out of hell, ahead of the fucking paramedics. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, I could understand maybe if they were closer to the scene but it was awfully suspicious to me that the police flew in. And I want to walk one more thing real quick before one and you talk about, because I could just sit to listen to you two talk about your perspective of EMT versus, but here's the thing, talking about clearing the scene. When the police went in, there's a fucking locked door in the house. And as one has said over and over again, there's no need for a warrant. You can bust that door down because it's
don't get me started with
scene.
that. Yeah.
You don't know that there's not a killer still behind that thing. And so why wouldn't you clear the house and open that door? Then let EMTs come in and determine whether or not everybody's dead or whether somebody needs assistance. And after all that's been done, then lock down the crime scene and start processing a crime scene.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I saw someone made an issue in your chat the other day, Dago, and they were like, oh, well, you have to get a warrant and this and that. No, you don't. There is an exigent circumstance. Police are not, we're not allowed to label, we're not allowed to say, yes, we're not idiots. You can basically kind of tell that someone is dead or not, but could you be wrong? Absolutely. Sure. We're not EMS, but you kind of can tell that, this is a homicide. Right. Go ahead.
And let me clarify for something too, that one's saying right now, if we were to get there first, because it was that type of a call that someone's passed out, typically EMS would show up. If we were to walk into that scene and we'd have, I don't care if there's 2, 3, 4, 5 of us that show up and walk in, we'd have backed out right immediately and backed right out, radioed and said, hey, we need PD here now. We can't walk into this. End of story because of what the situation is. And we would stand outside. They would come in, clear the scene. That door would have been opened 100%. And it was open because I saw it in the ISP photos. When they did it, I don't know, but they did open it at some point. Okay. That's exactly how that would have went down. EMS will not touch a scene like that until police gets in and says, what, whoa. Yeah. Cause I walked into shit like that. I walked into that, what we were called was a suicide. And we walk in and there's a woman holding a gun. I'm out. You know what I mean? So,
well, okay. Let's go back to an early thing. Everybody's talked about it, but again, we have professionals who have been in the business. Let's talk about the 911 call and the argument that many people said, look, you're making way too much out of the call for a passed out female or whatever, because that's the way it's supposed to be said on air. They never say a dead person. They don't say deceased. They would just say, they were trained to say a passed out unconscious female and not say that somebody was deceased. Is this a possibility? Because again, there's all this talk about, well, the 911 call had to say it was an unconscious female.
Because the radio dispatcher, I mean,
there's codes.
There's definitely right. I mean, there's definitely. I could tell you, I could give you 5,000 different times I've responded to a job and it winds up being different, or maybe not as a discredit to the radio dispatcher. Maybe she was given wrong info or bad info.
Yeah,
they're gonna give us all the info they can. So if someone is calling 911 and says, my friend is bleeding, there's blood all over the place. I don't know what's going, I don't know what's going on. It looks like they passed out. The radio dispatcher is going to tell the police that someone is calling saying someone's passed out, but there's blood everywhere. We need to know that. We need to know that info.
And they will come back and go ahead. Sorry, one.
I want to watch one blow a cork. What about the fact that Hunter's walking around with the steak knife in his hand when the police arrive?
Oh my God! Hunter, my
honest to God, here he would have probably damn near been shot.
They would have
had him head down on the ground. I've seen it, guys. There's no way. What the fuck? Turn around, put your hands on your head, get down.
Yeah.
End of story.
All I can tell you is my firearm would have been drawn
100% here too,
right at him, being like,
and we, stop, like I said, if EMS would have went into that scene and seen what you saw with him holding a knife, we would have booked it. Either that, or I'd have had an oxygen tank in my hand. Like, let's go, bro, come on, because that's our defense weapon, is our O2 tanks right there. But yeah, no way in hell. They would have had him face down on the ground, arms behind his head, cuffed before you could blink, guys. That's no lie. I'm telling you. That whole scene is a joke.
Yeah,
and that's why I go back.
That would have been a moment. I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
and this is why I say so many things about the way that crime. I realize people are trying to dismiss it as small town. They didn't know how to handle a crime like this. Nothing really happens in Moscow. It's all but let me say this. I feel like it has the feel of, you don't need to ask questions you already know the answers to. They knew Hunter wasn't the killer because they know what happened. They knew certain things about that. They knew people were dead already because they knew when it happened. There was a lot of things that would be explained away if the reason why they didn't ask, because they already knew. They already knew some of the answers before they.
The 911 operator alone gave that away, Lee. The 911 operator herself. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that alone gave it away. I told you I had a friend of mine that works for 911 here. Listen to that, and she went, "What? What? What did she just do? Play that back again." And I did it.
Yeah.
He said, "Dude, what the fuck is going on with this?" And I said, "I told you, this is not normal." She was like, "And where's that radio traffic coming?" Because you hear it in the background. And she's the one that told me. I was pretty sure that it's in 911 here. They have their own private, separate cubicles. Okay. Very, very rarely is it possible for traffic to overlay in a call. They're supposed to have absolute quiet. Okay, you can't have traffic overlay in a call like that because it'll confuse the situation. And that was a problem. The fact that she came right out and said, "Is she breathing?" She was more irritated with them passing the phone around, which is a problem. Yes, don't get me wrong. But the first thing she should have said, my friend said the same thing. Why did she not go for CPR first? Why did she not force that first? You go right for a defibrillator? What are you doing? And she went and showed me to look up in our SOP here, the standard operating procedure for EMS and all that. You do not go for a defibrillator first because it can be a dangerous situation to some extent, depending on what is going on. So you start.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about the 911 thing, because you just brought up a great point. I've listened to lots of 911 calls, and like you say, here's the way I remember it usually would happen. Hey, this person's not breathing. Okay, what I need you to do is I need you to go over there if you're comfortable with it. I need you to check for a pulse. They walk them through that. Can you do this? Can you do this? They never asked those questions. They never asked any of those questions.
There's a screen that pops up that walks you. There's a screen.
Yeah,
you hit a button, it comes up and it automatically tells them how. Do you know how to do CPR? No, I don't. Okay, this is what I need you to do then. I need you to tilt their head back. I need you to check the airway. Can you see anything? Do you hear anything? Are they breathing?
None of that's done.
None of that happens. She goes, okay, this is what I need you to do now. I need you to start compressions. And then I need you to do the breaths. Blah, 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 blah. They read it off the screen, word for word for word. She went right for a freaking defibrillator.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Is that so? Is it just small town? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, again, okay. Let me play devil's advocates for a second, right? Apparently, they had rerouted 911 services to like Pullman or whatever for the day because it was a low weekend or a slow weekend or whatever.
They always used the same 911 center. Pullman and Moscow they've always been the same center.
Okay,
it's always been that way, so that's normal.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to figure out how there's an answer to it, and I don't get there.
Come on now, hey. Nobody can get there because it doesn't make any damn sense. Okay.
Right.
No.
And you can listen, if you go into that house, and I know you've dealt with this 211. I've been into places where people have been dead for months. Okay. As you walk and I've been in houses where people have been dead for an hour. 8 hours, you're gonna have things happen. The body releases bodily fluids. Well, once they're deceased, the fecal matter releases, the urine releases, all of that happens, which adds to, if there was so much blood in that house, there was a horrible iron smell along with that mixed with the body fluid, all that. It's bad.
The smell would have been unbearable. It would have been unbearable.
Yes.
That's why I don't, I know there's a question here, everyone is, was Bethany there or not? What I can tell you is I don't believe that Dylan and Bethany, if they were there when the stuff happened, they didn't stay in the bedroom all night. No way. Plus it's the middle, almost, it was freezing cold outside. The door left wide open. It would have been freezing. and still the smell. For those of you who haven't smelled a dead body before,
every time we talk about it, I smell it.
Oh yeah,
it never goes away, guys. One time is all it takes. So yeah, it's bad. It's very bad, and
you need that vapor. You need that vapor rub on your nose.
Yep. I'm going to tell you that in my experience, guys, within a 3 to 4 hour period, you'll start to smell something very, very bad. So 8 hours, really bad. 10 hours, really bad. 18 hours in that house, it's horrific. Okay, and that's how long they were in that house. So
right.
The girls
they weren't removed until like 9:00 at night the following day, right?
I think it 9:30 on the 14th or the 13th. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I will give it this. If Bethany and Dylan were in Bethany's room on the ground floor, the body's here on the second floor, and then the third floor.
Right.
Granted, I will say there's a possibility they didn't get much of the smell if the door stayed shut and they were in there, but you got ventilation in that house as well. It's going to get into the ventilation system. If the heat's blowing, it's going to transfer, okay? It's going to blow up through and then come back down around. You're going to smell something.
It's going to circulate it, yeah. And again, Howard Bloom's book, I get it. I keep saying it, but I read his book, right? And he said when the first officers came in on the first floor, they immediately knew something was wrong. Yeah. And I would imagine because that's consistent with the smells on the house.
Oh yeah,
like it wouldn't take you a second to figure out that
you would know. You could
catch them going. Corbin Smith was in the kitchen running around like an idiot for 2 hours. Okay,
right.
See him going in and out of the door multiple times because he's getting fresh air. Gunderson comes out through the kitchen and goes out that back door to get some fresh air. When they go into the house and they go up to the rooms, you hear him making sounds like Jesus Christ, like oof.
Yeah.
And they're coming back out going because you're breathing that out because you're sucking it in. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't overreact. People were saying they didn't react to the smells and stuff. They did. They just didn't overreact to it. So it's a bad scene, folks. That's a very bad scene. And not to mention the visual.
Yeah, and then another big thing with this, while you're talking about the police responding and all that, came up on your show the other day too, Dago, and I think this is a huge thing, is the coroner not being allowed. The coroner, and even lying. She even lied. We know. We have proof. We know she was there around, what was it, 12 o'clock?
12:15, 12:30. She was
and
on
she's
scene.
Right. So the big issue, the big problem with this is, the quicker that she's able to do what she has to do, she, being able to see the bodies, she's able to give a timeline of when this actually happened by pushing it. Yeah, go ahead.
You guys are both saying Mabbitt was there at 12 o'clock. I thought she officially said she wasn't there until like 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
She lied. She lied about it.
Yeah. Here's what initially she said. She got there at 5 p.m. That's not true.
5.
Right.
The truth behind this is it came across the body cam. Okay. And Gunderson was talking to Smith and he said, hey, by the way, the coroner's here. And he was like, cool. Have her stage on King. We'll let her know when she can come over. That was 12:15 between 12:15 12:30, Lee. What the hell? And then they waited, in my opinion. They waited, I think they were told to wait till Thompson got there to do his walkthrough. And then they let her go in somewhere between 7 and 9.
Let me clarify that then. So I want to make sure I'm clear because I didn't know those details for some reason. So I want to clarify. So what you're so what I heard is correct, right? She didn't go into the house until later, but
she was on scene
and she was told to stay out of the house. Okay,
yeah.
So that makes some sense. I mean, because then she did supposedly not go in until later.
Idaho
she was there on scene.
But she was on scene. Yeah, Idaho. But why did she lie? Why did she lie?
Why'd she lie? Right.
Yeah.
And she lied because she said she only arrived at 5 or something.
She said she did not go there and deal with anything.
She was on scene at 12, and what she put down time of death. She put 12 o'clock, right?
She did time of death as noon, which we all know is bullshit.
Right. What the hell is that?
I think it was done on purpose.
The longer you wait with the coroner, the harder it is to establish.
Yeah. Right. Correct.
So there's some kind of I don't know, fuckery magic going on with it.
And I read
That's
Ohio,
the official
Idaho,
word, fuckery. Yeah.
I read the Idaho law. Their protocol, their law is that in a scene like this, they go in, clear the scene, they stabilize and secure the scene. The coroner's en route. They call the coroner immediately. The coroner's en route. Okay. The coroner comes in, calls it what it is, takes custody of the bodies, and then everybody else comes in and does what they do. That didn't happen there, folks. We had forensics there. We had people running around taking fucking pictures, walking through every room in the house, screwing up the crime scene all over the place. And this woman was told to stage a block over for like 10 hours.
You just nailed something. One of the things that I know, so I've been waging this kind of like public records request thing. I got all kinds of public requests in, and I haven't gotten a lot back yet, but they are processing a lot. I've gotten notice they're processing a lot. I've actually made a payment, by the way, for some of it. Very small payment. But you make a great point. What you just said was there's procedures in place for things like, when does the coroner come in?
Yeah.
How do you process the crime scene? There's procedures. And one of the major things that departments don't like is for you to ask this question. Do you have procedures to follow in these events? And can you show me that those procedural steps were followed? So if their procedures say that a coroner comes in at a certain time and they told the coroner to stay out for 7 hours, for example, then you can ask, why didn't you follow your own procedures? Your procedures say the coroner comes in at this point and they didn't. So I'm going to go after those records. Where does your procedure say when the coroner is supposed to be involved? And can you prove to me that you followed your own procedures? You didn't? Okay, then please explain the variance. Why did you not follow procedure in this particular case? That's the kind of shit that will drive them bonkers.
Well,
so that's the kind of stuff.
Right. And if you look at the timeline of this, okay, Bill Thompson, Ashley Jennings, and Brett Payne, and I think Gilbertson, they show up at 5 or 5:30, which is the time Mabbitt gave. They go do their walkthrough. They walk through, come out, blah, blah, blah. Whenever that's said and done, at some point, then eventually, I believe around 8:30, Mabbitt goes in, does what she's supposed to do, takes custody of the bodies, clears that, and then they remove the bodies between 9 and 9:30. In my opinion only, I believe that they were told nothing happens until I get there and I walk through and look at the situation and I assess everything. And that came from Bill Thompson, who was in charge of this entire thing. Everybody went through him. Everybody dealt with him. He was the head honcho. I don't care what anybody says.
Yes.
They've all said that. That has been, 100% from the beginning. So what else? It looks to me like he told them, don't do anything. Let me come in. Let me see it. Let me handle this. Don't touch a thing. That's exactly what I see. I think that's why Mabbitt lied. I think she was told to.
Tommy Boy Charm says in here, yes, I thank you for pinning that, Robin. Tommy Boy says, right, the law says the coroner is to go in before the scene, under the scene before the prosecuting attorney. If that's true, so the first step, I'm going to tell you, the first step is getting them to put that in writing. Can you show me what procedure is for the process? Did you follow that procedure? If Bill Thompson went into the crime scene before the coroner and their own documents say procedure says otherwise, then once again, they hate those questions because you're going to have to ask, why didn't you fucking follow your own procedures? And so therefore you've got procedural problems all over the place on this crime. How much did you cover up your fuck up in your procedures? Because you fucked up the procedures all over the place. So yeah, I'm super excited for this community today. I've got some new shit. I got some more letters to write. You guys just anyways,
this has been an issue from the beginning for me until it wasn't so bad until I was sent the Idaho laws on how they're supposed to do these things, because certain states it's a little different. It's pretty much the same everywhere, but there's little quirks here and there. They're different. That is not different. That is a fact. I read it to the whole community that day off of their own laws, what is going on with that and why. You know what I mean? That's a big deal to me. And I feel like it proves that the prosecutor was a very big influence within this case, so on and so forth, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I would, in small towns, I want to say that it's not outside of historical fact that prosecutors and law enforcement work very closely together, and there's a symbiotic relationship to get the cases closed. And so the quicker the prosecutor can get in there working with law enforcement, the better there is for convictions. And so again,
why was
everything looks,
Why was Ashley Jennings there? She's not the prosecutor. She shouldn't have been on that scene at all. Okay.
No. Yeah.
No.
There's how it was. We have video of it. So.
Yeah.
And you know, you're talking about all the procedural stuff, Lee. When I was reading through some of those documents today, I can't believe that they moved furniture and stuff before the forensics team even got in there to take pictures. Because the forensics team had to put the furniture back so that they were in the same approximate location that they had been, so that they could measure where the blood stains and everything else were. Why would they do that?
Yeah. So many things stink. So many things stink in this trial.
The crime scene was horrendous. The crime scene was horrendous. Whether, you know, they tried to, you know, whether someone was involved with cleaning up or messing with it beforehand. But besides from that, the police on site that we see from the body cameras, horrendous job.
Let me clarify something for some people too, real fast. I see a couple questions. A paramedic can call death at a scene. It's just not clarified until the coroner does it. Understand? Like, they can go in and say, yeah, they're dead. This is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And they'll write it in their report, but it's not the word until the coroner says it. That's how that works.
Perfect. That's a great clarification. I wanted to comment on this. It's kind of a shameless plug in a way, but I've already recorded a video coming out on Saturday called Wanted, Dead or Alive, and it answers this particular question. What if it was Kopacka, and then after Kopacka died, they went after BK? I have a video coming out on Saturday. It's available right now for members only. It's called Wanted, Dead or Alive. And it talks about there's no money in prosecuting a person who's already dead. There's lots of money that comes in if you're going after a living suspect. And so I compare on Saturday's show why you would see a fine. And I'm not saying it happened. Pay attention. I'm not saying it happened. What I'm saying is I'm going to show you why there would be a financial incentive to shift from, for example, in the case of Delphi, the investigation from Ron Logan after he died to a living suspect, which would then flow the coffers of money going after a living suspect. Why? If, for example, there was another person, be it Kopacka or Mowich, who might have been the person who did it, but when they died, guess what? It was days after Kopacka was shot and killed that the lead suspect became Brian Kohberger. You know why? It could be argued. I'm not saying it is. It could be argued because there's no money in going after somebody who's already dead. There's lots of money going after getting an arrest, a trial, a prosecution. It funnels money. And in fact, lots of money came in once they went for Brian Kohberger. So I have a video talking about that. It's a thought experiment. Is it true that our system is systemically set up to incentivize going after living suspects? It helps their clearance rates. It helps their arrest rates. It helps their conviction rates. There's no incentive to go after somebody who's already dead. You don't get approved overtime to investigate a on somebody who's dead. They're like, you know what? You can work on that dead suspect in your spare time.
Take that theory, Lee, and add to that something Bill Thompson himself said when they were talking about the change of venue. He threw a holy hell temper tantrum and said, I want that money to go to the folks of Latah County. Remember that. And why are you so worried about that, Mr. Thompson?
Right. Because they received $1 million within days. Idaho had given them $1 million to help with this case within days. I'm going to show that on the Saturday video, how they received $1 million from the state to help with finding out who did this kind of thing. Money was flowing in. You're right. If it turned out in the investigation that the guy that did it's dead, there goes all the money. Because you know what the money was for? For going after and finding who did it and then prosecuting them. Well, there's no money to prosecute somebody if they're already dead. There's an incentive to go after somebody alive.
And to answer that question, Hemi, that it is, but the all-out end of story way to tell would be a full, complete, total autopsy where you can, pull stomach contents and things like that. They would be able to tell that, which is interesting to me because if you look at that generic, weak-ass autopsy report we got, that doesn't talk anything about stomach contents or anything like that. No. That would be the be-all, end-all, in my opinion. They didn't put any of that in there, which is why I want to see the true autopsy. I don't
critical question. Here's a critical autopsy question. If the murders happened at 2-something in the morning, but people tell us Xana ordered DoorDash and was eating the food at 4 in the morning, guess what? The autopsy and with the food in the stomach will tell us, was she alive and eating at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Right.
If she doesn't have food in her stomach at 4 o'clock in the morning, then she didn't fucking die and she wasn't eating food at 4 in the morning. This is why it's important for us to have that document. What was in her stomach? Did she eat or not?
Yes, that's like absolute key.
It's like the key. I think that's the key element that was in the John Benet Ramsey case. The undigested.
I think that's why that was not given to us, you guys.
Right.
Think
about it. Could it be why we didn't see it?
Yep. Right. Think about that. Absolutely. And yeah, the longer the bodies are laying there, it's very hard to tell. That's why you could do liver temperature tests, things like that. This woman did nothing. She walked in and said time of death was noon. That's straight bullshit. We know that, okay? That's so fucking lazy, you guys. I've never seen that done. She shouldn't have done that, but I think she was directed to do that. You know, to throw the timeline on.
Somebody went in ahead of time and they made the determination what it was going to be, and she was directed to say a certain thing. That's what it seems like, and what it feels like. And we're getting close, making a lot of allegations, but
yes, these are purely speculative theories, guys.
It's think tanking. We're think tanking.
I do just want to thank the White Rabbit, Everything Me, and Cranky Coffee for their gifts tonight. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your questions. So thank you guys for the support. So I just wanted to say that real quick here.
Yes, thank you guys. Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
Passed out calls. I can't. I gotta. As much as I didn't want to read Bloom's book and Patterson's book, I think I'm gonna have to. Because I think there's things in there that I'm probably gonna stamp, like throw a Thompson tantrum, I call them, jumping up and down, screaming and yelling, because there's things that are gonna be wrong in there, guys. That they're still pushing a specific narrative, and it's ridiculous. So.
For sure. Yeah. And I did a whole book review on Bloom's book. And for me, I guess, I mean, there are other things in the book for sure, but the big chapter for me was the Coroner Club chapter, his covering of the Coroner Club. And he was a guilter. Like, he's the guy that's like, hey, yeah, Kohberger did it, and here's the reasons why he did it. And yet, even in his own book, when he was on that Coroner Club, I'm like, what the fuck are you, like, you're admitting that in that chapter, and yet you still think it happened the way you say it did? Like,
yeah, I got clips. People sent me pieces and parts of the different chapters, and I'm like, I need to read the whole damn thing, so I'm gonna have to break down and do it. But yeah, and another thing to add to that too is one thing Mabbitt said in her interview. Somebody asked her about a toxicology report. Okay, she made a statement she should have never made, folks. I'm telling you right now, regardless of how the murders happened. That's great. That's fine. That's dandy. We know what happened. That doesn't mean there does not need to be a toxicology report done. If anything, to me, I think that makes it more reason to do a toxicology report. And she said, there's no need for that. We don't need that. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? 4 people are murdered, stabbed to death, and you don't want to even look into the possibility of a toxicology report. Yeah, and they lied. They lied, by the way.
Yeah.
We found something, Lee, 2-3 years ago. Molly found it, actually, where they told us in that generic report that said there was no illicit drugs in their systems. There was a report put out for the whole state years ago, and it showed there was only 4 homicides, right? We know who those were. And it said that 2 of the bodies did have illicit drugs in their system, and the other ones didn't. So you explain that to me.
Yeah, I mean, these are all amazing questions. Somebody had posted in here, Lee, read it for us if you're DA, read it for us. If you're talking about Blumberburgers, I almost pulled a harsh reality. If we're talking about Bloom's book, I have the entire book that I read. Now, granted, I don't read it to you because there would be fair use issues of me reading the book verbatim like an audio book to you, but I do read the book and then comment on every single chapter with highlights on screen of the entire book, and that's on my playlist. I used to have it separated. I was going to give you the link right now, the playlist to just the book, but it looks like at some point we kind of cleaned up our playlist and just put it in the giant Idaho 4 thing. So they're all numbered with like When the Night Comes Falling, so it's like the initials like WT whatever, When the Night Comes Falling 001 through whatever. The whole series is there if you want to see my comments on the book as I go through it. And that was a long time ago. I know more about the case than I used to know. But.
Yeah, I just put that in the chat.
Thank you. All right. We've gone an hour and a half on Idaho 4. Do we want to talk a little bit about some Delphi or some other cases at all? Or do you guys want to get into that?
Yeah.
Whatever you guys want to do, I'm down for it. Either way.
So I have a video coming out on Saturday about the why you moved to a suspect. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what I found after watching. And again, Dago, because you've been in the case a lot longer than I have. So as I was looking through that documentary and some other notes now on the Delphi thing, it seemed like Ron Logan was a primary suspect for a lot of people, including law enforcement. They actually searched his. First of all, let's clarify for people. The girls that were on the Monon High Bridge were taken and walked across Deer Creek and onto Ron Logan's property. They were literally found on Ron Logan's property. That doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, other than you can't ignore that it was literally found on his property. The bodies were found on his property. Contrast that, of course, with all the places you can find with a simple search of how Richard Allen lived 2.5 miles away from that bridge, so he must be the killer. Let's forget that the bodies were found on Ron Logan's property and that he was a primary suspect. Let's forget, apparently, that Ron Logan's house was raided, that they seized a whole bunch of guns and weapons from his place, filled a whole entire van full. Let's mentioned that he lied about where he was that day, and they had people lie about where he was when he was actually close to the bridge when it happened. He was also close to the property when the girls were on his property, and he lied about where he was, saying he wasn't there, which they said, well, the reason he lied was because he wasn't supposed to be driving, and he was taking a drive to the dump that day, which I find is weird in the first place, taking a drive to the dump that day. And so he didn't want people to know that he was driving on a suspended license, not having a license. So that's why he lied. But the investigators thought there was fucking real problems with this guy's story, and had a history of violence. I mean, and there were people who said, look, Ron Logan is the bridge guy. That is the bridge guy. Nobody said Richard Allen was the bridge guy. On top of that, and as I'm walking through, and I know that those of you who've been doing this case, you know this already, but it baffles me as I get to thinking about it. How many times was Richard Allen walking around that town for 5.5 years with pictures of the bridge guy over every place that he visits, and no one said, oh, there's the fucking bridge guy? And yet we're to believe now that everybody now knows that you can see it. There's Richard Allen on the bridge. Funny, for 5.5 years, that guy was in restaurants with it sitting right behind him on the wall. And
it's posted 8 feet from the counter at the fucking pharmacy that he's holding your gift from. And people are looking at him going, no, what? Come on.
Nobody sat in line for their prescription and went, holy shit, is that the bridge guy?
Exactly.
Nobody.
Never one time.
So again, I look at that case and I think to myself, well, what happened? And again, to kind of steal a little bit of my own thunder for Saturday, literally, Ron Logan, from what I understand, goes to jail, I think, in 2018 for a relation to the DUIs and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And I think he died in prison. Didn't he die he died in prison in 2022 of COVID, right? And within 9 months, the investigation, and listen to this, with no change in discovery, no change in the investigation, nothing has changed other than the lead suspect just died. And then 9 months later, they shift it to Richard Allen, get a conviction, and put the guy away after browbeating him in prison and telling him, why'd you do it? Just fucking be a man and admit you did it. You killed those little girls. Tell us why you did it. It's the typical Reed technique of interrogation, telling them that, look, we've got you dead to rights. Everybody knows you've done it. You're gonna go down for this. You might as well just admit it and save yourself some time. It's just Ron
Logan's cellmate next to him was told, according to him, he wrote a letter stating that Ron told him he did it, for Christ's sakes. And they still ignored that. I mean, I get it. People can say whatever, but that's awful. Like, I would at least look into it,
Well, let me break that down a little bit, because this is what I understand. Correct me, because you're ahead of this, right? Let me tell you what's important about that. I want to make sure people understand the way I understand it. So if I'm wrong, Dago, don't feel any hesitation to correct me and say, well, you kind of got that wrong. Here's what I understand. The public had never been told that the girls had their throats slit with the box cutter. No one had been told that. That was information the public had never heard. They knew that the girls died and they knew that they had a violent death, and that was it. They didn't know the manner of death at all. Somebody said, Ron Logan told me he killed those girls and he cut their throats with a box cutter. No one knew that at that time. That was not information. It wasn't anywhere out there in the public. And so it's funny because when Richard Allen later on will say something about seeing a white van, they will say, well, only the killer would know that. That's proof that he did it. Yet when Ron Logan allegedly tells someone, I killed the girls with a box cutter in prison, something that no one but the killer could have known, they just go, that's not true. Because
you don't fit our narrative, Ron. Shut up and sit down. We can't use that. Sorry. I mean, it's stupid.
It is stupid. And part of it was because get this. Here's the last point I want to make this. Part of the reason why they dismissed it is because some of the details of that supposed confession were wrong, such as, well, I burned the girls' clothes. Well, they said that there's no evidence that the girls' clothes were burned, so therefore that wasn't correct. Or he said,
Can I explain that to you, what I think that might be?
Yeah.
I think that, as I told you guys before, my opinion of this is that Ron Logan is not the only person involved, but he is involved. Okay. So in turn, I think that Logan was told that there was a plan and that was supposed to happen, in my opinion, and it never did. So he in turn probably figured, oh, they were going to burn the girls' clothes. This is what we were told in the master plan, this and that, and it just never happened. So that's why I think that could have came out. That's my opinion, by the way, guys.
No, it's a great point. And here's the other point that I'm trying to make is that they'll dismiss Ron Logan's confession about killing the girls with a box cutter, something only the killer should have known, because he got a detail wrong, like the clothes were burned, right? Yeah. And yet, during Richard Allen's confession, he said, I shot the girls and then I cut them with a box cutter and they were never shot. Why the fuck don't you toss that guy's confession? If he got it wrong. He said he shot the girls.
Yes. And the only way that Richard Allen knew most anything about this is because his quote unquote psychiatrist that was running around in these channels right here told him about the box cutters. That's how Richard Allen knew about it. Besides that, he didn't know. That came from Dr. Walla herself, watching in here, being such a professional, and then going and telling him, well, we know that you cut their, and she was trying to force him to say this stuff as well, from what I understand.
It's a typical,
yes.
Yeah, it's a typical law enforcement technique too, as well. You put the crime scene photos in front of the person and say, "Why did you do this to them? Why did you cut their throats with a knife? Why did you tell them that?" And so you preload them, and then later, and what you do is, here's what you do: you don't show the public that interrogation. You don't show that you telling them, "Why did you cut their throat with the box cutter?" What you do is, when you get their confession, you say, "And how did you do it?" "Well, I used a box cutter." "Oh, well, only a killer would have known that." You fucking told them that it was a box cutter. That's the way that usually happens. You tell them, why did you do this? Why did you cut their throat with a box cutter? And then when you say, well, we need to know you really did it, what did you do? Well, I killed them with a box cutter. And they're like, oh, only a killer would have known that. Let's not play the part for the jury where we told them over and over again, why'd you kill him with a box cutter?
So that's it. And the only reason why Richard Allen said
crazy
shot him, in my opinion, is because excuse me, sorry, is because Jerry asshole, that's what I call him, sorry, told him, we have the bullet, Rich. We have the bullet, Rick. The bullet came from your gun, Rick. We have the bullet, Rick. That's the only reason why Allen would have thought anything about them being shot, is because of that down his throat.
Exactly. Like somebody who didn't do the crime is told they're obsessed about the bullet, and therefore he's like, well, shit, I guess if I'm going to do a confession, I shot him, whatever. Because why wouldn't you jump to that conclusion? And again, if anything, it proves you didn't do it, because you're making up details. You're making up shit because you're guessing, well, I guess I must have used a gun.
Thank you, Gary. And they think that we're stupid, guys. They think they're not going to figure this out. No. It's so utterly ridiculous.
And this, it's funny, I'm stealing all my good points from Saturday's fucking dive. I said I wouldn't do this, and here I'm doing it because I can't help it. Someone says, apparently the inmate who told them about that failed the polygraph. Yes, that's what the prosecution used in part for why you can't trust it, because he failed a polygraph. But let me make sure that you understand, in my interpretation, what this means. The phrase "he failed the polygraph test" doesn't tell you what question they failed.
That's right.
It's like you, as I joked in the video, you can ask him, "Do you like to masturbate in the closet with the lights on?" And he says no, and it turns out he failed it, and he actually does. They'll say, "Well, he failed the polygraph test." It has nothing fucking to do with the crime whatsoever.
Exactly.
But you know what they'll tell you? He failed the polygraph test, and you think that means that he must be guilty. There's a reason why polygraph tests are not admissible in courts in this country, because they're not reliable.
I will bet you everything I own that they asked him every question they possibly could, except anything to do with the case, and he failed that part of it. That's exactly how that worked. That way they could say that, period.
Right, exactly. It's such a deceptive, and I hate to say it, but it's easy to do, because all people, and I'm not saying this user did it, but the public will hear this. Well, he failed the polygraph test. Listen, that doesn't tell you shit. It doesn't tell you what question he was asked. It doesn't tell you what question he failed. They're literally giving you a blanket statement of he failed something on the polygraph test, and you're using it. Well, that must mean they're guilty of something, or that they lied. You don't even know what question they failed. You just took the easy answer.
That's why it's junk science, folks. That is exactly why it's science, right?
And then they'll play games with that too. They'll tell the client. They'll tell the client, "Oh, you failed it," when maybe they didn't even fail it.
Yes, they are allowed. They are allowed legally to lie to a suspect and say, "Well, here's the unfortunate thing. You failed that test fucking 6 ways from Sunday. I mean, you're clearly lying. It's the test says so. You can't argue with it." And they can lie about that. They don't have to tell you the truth.
Right. Just as much as the other day. When you were in there, you watched the interrogation video with Alan. They used Kathy, his wife, to try to.
That was horrible.
And she wasn't. They lied directly to his face and said, "Well, Kathy says she can't. She believes you did it. She believes this and this and that and everything." That's not true at all. Kathy said later on, she never said a fucking word about anything about that. She was just appalled and didn't understand how the bullet ended up from his gun there. And he sat right there and said, "Honey, it didn't come from my gun. I don't know what the hell they did. I don't know how it happened, but it's not mine." And
he said that repeatedly over and over again. I have no. So I want to use this as a teaching moment for people who don't know this question. So there's a question: if polygraphs can't be used in court, why are they even allowed in policing interrogations? It's a great question that gets asked a lot. Here's the thing: they're allowed to use it for helping out with investigative leads, to let them kind of know where they should be looking. It is not evidence. It's not evidence that's allowed in court, but it is allowed as in a police interrogation technique for them to kind of get their gut feeling like, "Hey, look, we asked him a question. He seems to be lying about that. We should look into that further." So it's allowed as an interrogation technique, not as evidence in trial. So that's kind of the answer.
Great answer, by the way. Great answer.
Yeah.
What other questions do we have? Boy, we're all spun up about this shit.
I am routed up again tonight, buddy. I tell you, this one I got a lot of passion for. I will go off about this because there were so many things, you guys, that were done that were there's parallels in Idaho and Delphi, so many of them, because they use some of the same corrupted policing techniques, guys. It's really sad. It really is. So
and why is it? Why? I mean, this gets going back to Idaho for a minute. Why is it that we have so many videos of Richard Allen interrogation and not anything of Brian Koberger's interrogation?
Well,
very good.
Well, yeah. The FBI definitely has.
I'm going to tell you my opinion. I'm glad you said that because I think that we would blow. They know that the internet would implode, Lee. The internet would implode if we watched their interrogation video and flip the hell out, because we would see the tactics that they use. We already know that. They know we do. And we would blow it up. I think that's why they won't show it to us.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary. Like it's like you can almost tell by what they're not showing you and what they're not telling you where you should be looking.
That's right. That's exactly right there. Yes.
Right.
What I can say to people is, if you get brought in, plead the fifth and demand a lawyer.
Yes. Do not talk.
No matter what they say, just say because they're going to be recorded. The whole thing's going to be recorded, and I'm telling you, for me. And I'm active law enforcement. Just say over and over and over again, "I want a lawyer. I want a lawyer. I want a lawyer."
And don't say another word, because they'll twist anything you say against you.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't told this story for a while, but you may have heard me say it before. I actually watched a college lecture, and a police officer actually came and addressed like a students at law, and it was posted on the internet. And the officer said the same thing: "Don't ever talk to the police." like you know, it's like he's like they'll tell you, I mean, no offense, one, but he'll be like, he's like, they'll tell you, "Hey, I just want to clear your name." But the reality of it more times than not is they're looking to find a suspect. They're looking to develop a suspect. So while it comes in the guise of, hey, I just want to clear your name. Help me out. Help me clear you. You talk to me. You tell me what you know so I can clear you. But if you say something wrong, it's like, oh, I got a suspect. Let's go. And so it doesn't do you well, usually, it seems like. And the attitude in America that, well, only people who are guilty lawyer up or ask for a lawyer or don't talk. That is another thing we need to stop. We need to stop having this attitude that only people who are guilty ask for a lawyer. I will tell you right now, I have never killed anybody. I will never kill anybody. Well, unless you're breaking into my house to kill me, and then we're going to have fucking problems. But anyways, other than that, the point being is I don't intend to kill anybody, but I guarantee you, if anybody ever comes to my door and starts asking me questions that I think makes it look like you're going down, I'll be like, I want a lawyer right fucking now. I don't care if I farted and that's all I did. I want a fucking lawyer. Like, I'm not talking.
Well, there was that one night in Gilgo Beach.
I don't care what you smell. You can't prove that I farted. That's not me.
That's correct. I don't.
It wasn't me.
That's true. You know what's horrible about that? I literally was in a car with one, and I made a joke. This is terrible. I said to one, hey, by the way, we're on camera, we're filming it. I said, by the way, I want you to know, I've got a body in the trunk right now, and let's go try to find a place to bury this, and let's think about where we would hide the body, which I was kind of doing as a thought exercise to have us get in that mode of where would we dump this body. But I went, holy shit. I just said on camera in front of a cop, I've got a body in the trunk. If ever one decided that he's like done with me being a YouTuber, you know what? I'm going to take over this guy's channel. You know what I'm going to do? I got audio. He's literally telling me the body's in the trunk.
Absolutely. That would be the way to do it.
And a lot of people in America would be like, well, yeah, how can he not be guilty? He fucking said it himself. He told the guy, I got a body in the trunk.
Yes, exactly.
So sometimes humor can go the wrong way.
Great stuff. I love it.
All right, what else do we got? Do we got any last minute? I mean, again, I always say last minute. I always think in 2-hour chunks. Dago's like a warrior. He'll like go for 7 hours. I don't know how long he'd go, but I usually think in 2-hour chunks because I want to give everybody a break and whatever. Do you guys want to talk about anything? Is anything burning on your mind to talk about, or a case you want to kind of address or anything like that? Or
well, first and foremost, I have no plans. My wife is sleeping, so I'll go till tomorrow. Just so you know, whatever you want to do. I'm good. But, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, little bits and pieces of a little bit of everything we've been talking about, I think, and my end, I don't know about everybody else, but
yeah, I mean,
I had one other video. I don't know if you want to show it. It's like 1 minute. It's actually from Senior whatever.
Senior Wazowski. Yeah.
Yeah, he had like a little 1 minute video, and I think it's showing just some injuries to the finger. I guess they took the fingerprints of Ethan and Xana, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, let me put that up. Hold
it's nothing like groundbreaking, but just showing some of the injuries you can kind of see.
He's got some good points. Again, Senior Wazowski, for those of you that don't know, is a retired Baltimore City police officer. So anything he looks at, he's looking at it from the point of view of being a law enforcement officer.
Right. That's why it caught my eye. So
absolutely.
Right. I think this is the one. It says wounds on Xana's hands and feet.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's play this. It said it got to mute it for copyright sounds. Is that true? Is there? If there's no talking,
because
I guess
you don't want to get hit for that one.
I'm probably already too late. You do 1 second.
You can cut it. They'll give you a chance to cut it out.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. It says pay attention to the tips of the fingers. And this is, again, guys, we were kind of told in the beginning that Ethan was sleeping. So shouldn't have defensive wounds, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did they show Ethan's wounds or just Xana's? There's Xana's.
I thought that was Ethan's, wasn't it? There.
Who's this one's?
Pay close attention to the tips of the fingers. Okay. And yeah, you should be able to clip that out, Lee. Shouldn't bother you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that's
completely cut the tip off.
Right. Yeah.
That's Kernodal. Still has Xana still.
That would be why right there they bagged her foot. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so those were prints that were taken off the bodies post-mortem.
Yeah, Lucy's got a good point. They're really messing up the story with this accidental non-redacted stuff.
Yeah.
Sure. You know what I imagined after seeing that? Somebody screaming in Moscow, going, "What the fuck? Who did this? You're fired!" Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? I can just envision that.
Someone's getting fired.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, somebody's filing for unemployment this week.
Wow. Yeah. I feel. Like I said, I mean, I can't prove anything. A lot of this is speculation. All those good things. We're asking questions. What if it didn't happen the way I think that we're allowed? Are we not still allowed in this country to ask the question? What if it didn't happen that way? Is that okay? Is that protected free speech to ask the question? What if it didn't happen that way? Yeah. DA, did you hear that Pam Bondi stood at the podium and declared Mangione guilty again, or way back in the day?
I think it's that thing they're talking about. Yeah, when she made that statement.
I've got it. By the way, thank you. By the way, I get to tease another video. I got a video dropping tomorrow morning on my predictions about what's going to happen in the Luigi Mangione case. If you guys are okay with it, can I tease that a little bit and explain what's happening in that case?
Please do.
Yeah. So there's a monumental thing about to happen, in my opinion. I know that maybe I don't want to be considered guilty of saying everything's blockbuster or bombshell, or I hate doing that. Like, that's not what it's about. But there is a major thing happening. Both sides, the defense and the prosecution in Luigi Mangione's case, are required to show up on January 9th to give 30 minutes of oral arguments in counts 3 and 4 against Luigi Mangione in the federal case. What's enormous about that is counts 3 and 4 are the only two counts that have to do with the death penalty. And so what the judge said, Margaret Garnett, in the case of Luigi Mangione is, look, you guys have both written excellent informative documents for me to make my decision. I believe that judge already has made up her decision on counts 1 and 2 and also counts 3 and 4 in the federal case, but she's giving them one last moment of 30 minutes each on the 9th to make their final, give me a couple more things to think about. Like, I think she's already made up her mind. She's just giving them a chance to clarify the wording that's going to be used. This is a monumental moment in the case because what the and here's the thing. I mentioned this in the video and explain why this is a case. The fact that the judge is moving so fast in the federal case to make a ruling on counts 3 and 4, and it all goes to this Pam Bondi Pam Bondi from a podium all over national TV said, Luigi Mangione killed a man in cold blood, and if there's ever a case in which somebody deserves the death penalty, this is one of them. That statement was a prejudicial statement, which already in his defense's team fucked his right to a fair trial. Literally, the Attorney General of the United States told everybody in America he's guilty before he ever steps into a court of law, and that was a violation of his constitutional rights. That's on the table and being ruled on here on the 9th of January. That decision is going to decide whether or not the federal government can proceed with the death penalty. And so I've got a video coming out tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time that's going to break down all of that again, the Pam Bondi situation, the ruling that the judge is going to make, and what I predict the ruling is going to be, and if I'm right about the prediction about what the ruling is going to be, how it's going to impact the state case against Luigi Mangione next year. For those who don't know, Luigi Mangione is facing 2 different trials simultaneously, really 3. There's one in Pennsylvania that's on hold, actually. So there's 2 going on. The state case against Luigi Mangione is going first, and the federal case against Luigi Mangione is going to go second. So he's facing both of those, and his lawyer has already said it's unfair for us to fight his case in the state when he's facing the death penalty in the federal government, because what we would argue in the state may impact his right to a fair trial in a federal case. They've so far said we give 0 fucks. Deal with it. We're going to prosecute you twice. You're going to do state first, and then the federal government. And the bigger fish is that federal case, the death penalty. The fact that the judge is moving so quickly to make a ruling on it, to me, tips the hand that the judge realizes waiting to make a decision on the death penalty is already hurting Luigi Mangione's defense in the state case. That's why she's rushing to make a decision right now, because she's acknowledging it already is screwing his ability to defend himself in the state case when death is on over his head in the federal case, and she must rule on it. It either is going to go to be a death case or it's not, and she needs to make a ruling, because it's not fair for him to have death always just kind of lingering in the sidelines without a ruling on it. So she's going to make a ruling. All right. You guys have any comments, questions about that at all?
No, it's groundbreaking. It's gonna be super interesting to see what what the decision is. I would hope the judge does the right thing, but we will see.
Yeah. I'm glad he is being expedient about it, as far as 30 minutes for each side instead of drawing it out for days and days. Time is of the essence for the defense here on this.
Yeah. And here, and from my armchair, analysis of the documents, I've read the documents, right? I've read the argument that both sides made, and it was good that the judge said those were excellent arguments, because that's what I said too. When I read Karen, I was like, holy shit, that's a really good argument. They violated this guy's constitutional rights 7 ways from Sunday. The prosecution countered. I wouldn't say theirs was good as of an argument as hers. But the point being is the judge said, look, you guys had excellent arguments. I've got everything I need to make a decision. I just want to give you guys 30 minutes to clarify a few things on the death penalty in particular. So it's a really, really big moment. It's going to be 1 week from tomorrow that hearing is going to take place. I don't imagine the judge is going to rule on it that day. I would suspect the ruling will come down a week or 2 afterwards in writing, after really, really carefully, because her decision is going to shape the history of the country. It could potentially, but it's certainly going to shape his fight in the state case. So that's going to be a very monumental decision. So she's not going to make it lightly. She's going to hear those arguments, I think, on the 9th, and then she's probably going to take a week or 2 and then rule in writing. And that writing is going to be so meticulously written that it can't be undone. Right. So we'll see how
I'm really interested to hear read what she says about this being a valid arrest.
Yes, I agree
because
with that.
It's not a valid arrest. So
not even close.
If it's not going to be thrown out, I mean, because really everything that was found is fruits of the poisonous tree. Yep. We did a whole show on a few weeks ago on a Sunday. Myself and Robin explained the whole show was about Terry stops, which is, for those of you that don't know, stop, question, and possible frisk. And
I will say the ruling that the judge is about to make is going to include a ruling on the admissibility of items that were obtained in that arrest. It's funny because I didn't even talk about it. Because we'll get to that later. We broke down that arrest 7 million times. On my show. We did. So and I've made the argument why I believe, and every attorney that we've talked to believes that was an illegal arrest. And so I personally think the judge even knows that was an illegal arrest. And so a lot of that stuff's going to get tossed. And yes, that's going to be ruled on. But the reason why I didn't even mention it, because the big issue is the death penalty. That's the one that's the critical one. Luigi Mangione faces death and for his very life, and they're going to rule on that issue. Are they allowed to proceed with trying to execute him, or do they have to drop the death penalty thing? And one of the options, by the way, on the table is keep counts 3 and 4, but it's just not worthy of the death penalty. That's one of the options they have. But the point being is that the ruling is going to decide whether or not the federal government has already violated his constitutional rights and therefore cannot put him to death, or whether they can proceed with putting him to death. And that is a huge moment in this case.
Yeah.
What else do we got from the comments on the?
Did you hear the things that Bondi said about him?
I did.
Wow. I mean, that just.
Did you know Pam Bondi's? I'll tell you this, Dago. You don't know this. Pam Bondi's comments And then Karen Agnifalo's response to Pam Bondi got me kicked off of TikTok. Essentially, I started on TikTok.
Wow.
And all I did was read Karen Agnifalo's response, where she said, "Shame on you, Pam Bondi. You're doing this while a murderous healthcare system." And I said that, and my stream got shut off on TikTok. I got a strike on TikTok. I got told I'm not allowed to talk about that. It was hate speech to read the words. I was literally reading the words of Karen Agnifalo, and I got a strike for hate speech because Karen Agnifalo called the healthcare system a murderous healthcare system in response to Pam Bondi calling Luigi Mangione a murderer of an innocent man on public TV. And that's when I started to make the change. And I said, I'm fucking done with TikTok.
Yeah,
I'm done with it. YouTube will let me say things. And so
that shows governmental control in itself right there. Okay, we know that already. But TikTok's worse than you can't even sneeze over there without getting hit. So what to follow PA law or New York law in regards to
right. But what I could tell you is the stop, question, and possible frisk, the Terry stop, that is the law throughout all 50 states.
Yeah,
people constantly try to challenge it. Now, if you're not at a Terry stop, which is stop, question, possible frisk, the individual states have different levels of contact with people. It is different in Pennsylvania. I believe they have 3 levels of stop. Again, Robin and I covered this. New York City, we have 4. But the actual Terry stop itself, that can't vary. The Supreme Court made their decision on what that is.
Right.
So it doesn't matter whether you're in Hawaii, California, Florida, New York. If a law enforcement officer has reason to believe that you have committed, you are in the process, or you're about to commit a penal law misdemeanor or felony, you are allowed to be forcibly stopped, and you cannot leave. Now, there are certain things with that stop. About like showing ID and different things. There's all these like different things that come up. If they're going to question you, this is the thing where people get confused with. We're like, oh, but you think that this person may have done the crime, so you're going to ask them questions about it. Here's the problem. If I'm going to stop you because I think you committed a murder 2 blocks down the street, okay, and it's about it, I'm specifically asking you about that crime that happened 2 blocks away. I know there's a murder, and I think that you are the one that matches whatever info I have that brings me to stop you. I cannot ask you questions about that crime without giving you Miranda warning. I have to give you your Miranda warnings.
Right.
If I don't give you your Miranda warnings, I can't speak. Your Miranda rights, your Miranda warnings. If I do not do that, I'm now violating your rights. Again, Miranda is another thing guaranteed all 50 states by the Supreme Court. If I do not do that, I'm now doing, I'm forcibly stopping you. I'm interrogating you, and I'm forcibly stopping you, and I'm asking you questions. If I don't give you Miranda, now you're basically, what I'm doing is you're under arrest, but you're not under arrest because I didn't arrest you yet. So
and it's funny because
the problem.
I wanted to mention Miss Anna. Sorry to cut you off, Dago, but this comment from Miss Anna is funny because Karen's funny. Karen Agnifalo is funny in a sophisticated way. 3 weeks of suppression hearings went on. Karen stated at the end of that, by the way, suppression hearings should have been a half a day, but they went for 3 weeks. The prosecution called dozens of witnesses to come to the stand during the suppression hearings, and not one person was called by the defense. And the only real significant comment that I remember Karen saying in the entire 3 weeks was to an officer, my only question is, you do know what Miranda rights are, right? And they're like, yes. No further question. It's like, I don't even, fuck the last 3 weeks. It's going to go back to Miranda. And you do know what Miranda rights are, right? Yes. Okay. Thanks. We'll just wait till your 3 weeks are done and we'll talk about it.
Go.
Right. So that was like a big confusion that some people are getting too with Luigi is like the police had no reason to stop him. I don't agree with that. I heard the 911 call, and I can tell you, you have to take away I know that the manager said, oh, 5 of my workers came up to me and said they think he matches the description of the guy wanted for shooting in New York, and he's suspicious. Forget about the suspicious thing, doesn't mean anything. There, you have a valid, identified person telling you that someone they believe have info that there's a violent, that they may have committed a violent crime, violent felony. That right there, they're giving you that info right there. You are now at a Terry stop. That is what a Terry stop is. You have to do an investigation. So that becomes a confusion. They're like, oh, so what are they supposed to do? Do they just they let him go? Well, they stopped him. They can ask him questions about his name. They can ask him, brief stuff. They can't ask him questions about anything that happened in New York without giving him Miranda. Again, you're at a Terry stop. He's not free to leave. So he would then be under arrest. But what you cannot do, and what's obvious in this case, you cannot go through someone's bag, property, and find evidence. I don't care if the guy I don't care if he had a severed head in his bag. It doesn't matter. You cannot use that and then say, oh, well, by the way, he had a severed head, so that makes the arrest valid. No, well, what?
No.
Right. How did you get there? How did you get to the bag? How did you open the bag? Oh, he might have had a weapon in there. He had a weapon in there. There were like 10 officers in between him and the bag.
Right.
Nonsense.
Yeah. And you can refer to Terry versus Ohio, 1968. That'll show you guys a lot on that, guys. Especially living in Ohio, I've looked into that more than one time.
Or watch our episode of Firearms After Dark from about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
and the law further states, clearly, you can't make up a reason to search somebody's bag so that you can find a reason to arrest them.
Absolutely
you can't come up with a lie and say, hey, I'm looking for a bomb, therefore I had to look through your backpack and look, I found something, you're under arrest.
Not at all. You got to have a
and stuff like that probably has that stuff. What you're saying there, obviously that's an extreme circumstance, saying that there's a bomb in the bag, but why that's a big and I know that the female officer used that. Why that's actually an issue in this. They were trying to backtrack basically to cover themselves because they know they fucked up. Going through someone's school bag, knapsack, some kind of bag like that has an exigent circumstance. Okay, if what I could say is if you look up specifically the legal bulletin on when you don't need a warrant to search and if you're not under arrest. So I could tell you like anything that's like a major public area. So if someone came up to me, so they're right in front of me, so they're an identifiable, valid person, right? It's not some, random like email or something. It's someone standing in front of me and he tells me, oh, that guy right over there, 20 feet away with the blue jacket and the brown bag, he has a bomb in that bag. I can stop him and I can go through that bag. I do not need a warrant. That it's one of those exigent circumstances because I guess they felt that the possible risk to mass casualty outweighs that. I guess that's how why they ruled in that sense. Same thing with like a train station, a bus depot.
And they tried to kind of use that argument to say, hey, look, one of the officers knew he was the shooter. They knew the shooting was committed with the gun. Therefore, they had reason to believe the backpack had a gun. Therefore, they had to search his gun. But again, that gets mitigated with he's separated from his backpack for 15 minutes with a wall of police officers between him and couldn't have gone for the gun in the first place. So get a warrant and look for the gun that you think is there. That's the way that's supposed to work.
Right.
Yep.
And somebody asked one if you're actual. Did you see somebody ask if you're actual NYPD? I want to take this down off the screen.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. Not surrounding areas, actual NYPD. Yeah.
Yeah, NYPD. Yes, I have over 20 years of experience. I've worked in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, in Queens. So I've had much experience with doing Terry stops, and I'm not a detective, so no, I have not investigated homicides, but I have many times been first on scene, securing crime scenes. I've been involved in that many times. So,
but also, because I think it's important to know this, because it's congratulatory. You're up for a promotion here relatively soon, aren't you, my friend?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
It could be next month. It's going to be sometime within the next, it could be next month, but it'll be sometime probably within the next 3 months. I should be.
I'm gonna
ask captain.
I'm going to ask that they hold off on your promotion because you got shit to do on my show. So I don't want to lose any time. I mean,
it doesn't that mean you can have more time because the higher rank you are, the less work you get.
Right. Yeah, but maybe it'll work out. Maybe he doesn't want to admit that on camera. I don't know.
Right.
I'm assuming his duties may go up, and that may mean less time on our show. Hopefully not. Real quick, I know this doesn't relate to true crime, but I have to. It's a Seahawk fan, Steve Largent, Cortez Kennedy, Dave Craig. Oh my God, that's a throwback to my day. Warms my heart. Craig was amazing. I love Steve Largent. Steve Largent was amazing.
Yeah, he was.
Oh man, what a day! What a great! That was a great time. I have many memories of my father watching the Seahawks struggled for making the playoffs, but it was freaking phenomenal. And Largent was one of the funnest people to watch. Craig was amazing as well. So thanks for that blast down memory lane. So anyways, I'm glad we get to talk a little Luigi Mangione. Again, that case probably doesn't resonate as much with our audience as some of these other cases. By the way, somebody had said out of the cases they follow of mine, the only case they don't follow is the Charlie Kirk case. And for those who haven't heard this recently, we are kind of replacing the Charlie Kirk with the Richard Allen's case in Delphi, which partly because Charlie Kirk is so political, you can't talk about Charlie Kirk without getting into Republicans versus Democrats, Christians versus liberals. I don't want to get into the politics.
I've tried,
but it's not like I'm going to ignore that case. It just may become kind of a bonus case, things we talk about from time to time, maybe some member only content. But I figured, all things considered, Delphi was way more in the wheelhouse of devil's advocates, especially when you're dealing with the issues of potential wrongful convictions, appeals. All of that is devil's advocates territory. Charlie Kirk's a little bit outside of the wheelhouse. And so we're kind of not doing that as much. So just to let you know, Delphi is kind of taking the pace of our regular.
I'm going the same thing, Lee, because of the same damn reason too. I mean, it's just, I covered it, I tried it, and I still will, like you said. I'm doing the same thing over in the cafe, but there's just so many hot flames attached to that one on the outside that when you got to grab, you're going to get burned either way you grab for it. So we're going to cover it too, but just very lightly and very very carefully.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Just listen to Candace Owens. She'll tell you.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right. Yeah, it's super hard to talk about that case without getting political.
It is.
People start losing their mind when they start talking about it because it's the politics involved, and then they don't think clearly. It's hard enough to get people to think clearly about presumption of innocence, much less when you add politics and God in the equation and their religious beliefs are in there. And
I've had people attack me on that one, you guys, because I blew up when it first happened and said, I don't give a fuck what the reasoning was behind why this person did this, but you took somebody's life. That was my biggest issue. And I was like, are you crazy? Everybody's coming at me. You don't understand it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, we're going to back off of that one right there. And that's why. So I get it completely. Absolutely, completely.
All right. Well, I think this is it. Screw the promotion.
I just brought it up. I just brought it up because I thought it deserved a congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
100%.
Hey, by the way, would it be? I want to show. Would it be okay to show my coin? You think or no?
You could show it.
Yeah. All right. Give me. You guys talk for a second. I think it's so cool. It's one of the fucking coolest things ever. So I'll be right back.
Yeah, it really is cool. You guys will really like seeing it. It was really neat that you were able to, give him one of those 1-1.
Am I gonna get jealous here?
Yeah,
I'm gonna get jealous. I can feel it. I feel it coming.
Absolutely. You guys, if you're not a member, I'll plug this while he's grabbing that. $2.99 a month. You get all kinds of access to the behind the scenes stuff. When Lee went to New York and met up with 1-1, their drive along oh my god, the name of the road. When you guys were doing your drive to see where you were gonna dump the body.
Oh, what? I don't even remember
Beach.
the
Yeah,
damn road. Well, it's Gilgo Beach. Yeah.
Yeah, but the name of the road, I couldn't remember. There's well, anyway, it was. You guys just have to see that kind of stuff. It's just amazing. So
I don't know if this is going to show up great on camera because of my focal length and all that shit. But this, oh no, and my green screening is gonna fucking ruin it. Ah, hold on, if I put my hand behind it. All right, so this is what's called a challenge coin. It's a tradition. I didn't know about it.
Make your block the full screen, Lee.
Make my block. Yeah. Why don't we do that?
That's you could do that.
Yeah.
Might be able to see it.
That's Robin. Let's remove Robin. How do we change the focus?
Hi, Robin.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
There we
Let's
go.
see if I can do this. All right. Can you see? The lighting sucks. I need to get some better front lighting on it. But anyways, it's a two-sided coin, right? Well, obviously, really thick, really heavy. It's really beautiful. It's fantastic, and it just says New York Police Department, 76th Precinct, Brooklyn. It's got all kinds of stuff. Anyways, the tradition on these things, I don't know if you want to tell the tradition of the coin or if you want me to tell the tradition of the coin, but I'll let you have a shot.
Go ahead, you can tell it. It's fine.
When I went to go visit him out there, it was kind of funny. It was an embarrassing moment for me because he handed this to me and he's like, "Hey, before I forget, I want to make sure I give you this because this is really important." And he hands me this and I'm like, "Oh, cool. It's a cool coin." Like I'm a fucking idiot. I'm like, "It's cool. It's got NYPD stuff on it. It's kind of cool." I did not realize the significance of it.
That's a huge honor.
It's an honor, right? It's basically a recognition of your service to what I'm doing, which is fighting for people's civil liberties. It's basically it's a way of saying you're a friend of an officer, you're a friend of the police department, that kind of thing. It's a token of basically acknowledgement that you've done something that is worthy of respect. And so I didn't realize that until I got home, and I was like, "Man, this coin's badass! Like, what is it?"
That's huge.
I literally chat GPT'd like, a police officer gave me this really cool coin. I don't know what it is. And like, "Oh, you just been blessed with a challenge coin.
Yeah,
that means something." And I was like, "Holy shit! Like, why didn't I tell him that was the coolest thing?"
It is like that's a monstrous honor, and that's amazing. That's very awesome.
Yeah, and he gave me another gift as well that was just as equally. I don't talk so much about the other gift, but I got another gift from him that was also equally awesome. So that's why I get so pissed off when people say, "And he's not really NYPD." I'm like, you need to seriously go walk really, really long on a short pier.
That's right. Shut it down. I said the same thing in my channel, and I said he'll tell you, like, you ain't gonna do that over there. I'll tell you right now, because it ain't gonna happen.
So thanks again, 1-1, for that. I appreciate it so much. And I didn't realize.
Yes, I'm jealous. Like I said, am I gonna get jealous? Yeah. I'm very jealous. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, very cool.
It does. It says a lot about 1-1 too as a person. That's amazing, 1-1. Truly.
For sure.
Yep.
It was great. I mean, the meeting we had, he mentioned it, but it's just it was such a he told me about the idea when he was coming to New York, and he's we had this whole thing planned. We were at the shooting range the whole day, and then he's like, "Oh, when we're done at night, let's do this Gilgo Beach drive at night to see where the bodies were buried and whatnot." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds like a great idea," but looking at it from the outer, you have Lee, who's running a true crime channel, and me, a law enforcement, NYPD over 20 years together, looking to see, well, where would we put a body?
Yes.
And the best part was he said, "Look, he's exhausted. He'd been at it all day long. I don't know how he finds the energy." We had driven from close to New York, like on Long Island, upstate New York, right? To go to the shooting range, long drive and a long drive back. And the poor guy's exhausted. I'm like, look, if you want to pass on the whole like Long Island, serial killer drive, Gilgo Beach drive, he's like, no, I'm in. We just need to stop at a donut shop.
That is fucking great. I love it. Yeah.
But I didn't have any donuts.
You gotta get coffee. That's all.
Did
you happen to take him like on a patrol of like the patrol area that you cover and stuff like that?
So it's funny you say that. I would have loved to, and I would in the second, like you as well, Dave. I would love to take you guys around and see what we do, but they're so strict about rules,
especially in New York.
You don't even think you have to be a resident of New York. I can't even take someone from out of state.
Makes sense.
Yeah. By the way, this person says, "Whoa, Gilgo at night." Yeah, it was a very cool experience. It was really cool. Like literally, one was in the passenger seat, looking up and reading details about the body dump site as we were driving it, looking for the body dump site. And it was a profound moment. We're driving along and there's a moment where there's a big median and there's tall trees and shit in between the median. And I said, you can't see what's happening on the other side of the highway from this stretch right here because you're blocked by this. What a great place to dump bodies, because all you have to do now is worry about one lane of traffic coming the other direction. And we talked it all out by being there at the scene, and it opened your eyes like, well, yeah, this is where you
the
would
whole
dump
point, wasn't it? Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I know about it. Yes, absolutely. You guys went by Rex's house and everything, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. I filmed in front of the house.
Yeah.
As well.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. See, it's good to know people, guys. It's good to know. So once again, I'm gonna reiterate what Lee says. If you want to challenge one at this, I'm just gonna throw one of these at you because you're ridiculous. Okay, that's ridiculous. Come on now.
Yeah. So, well, anyways, I thank you again. What a great night. I know that you guys are diehards. You'll go all night long, but I'm an old man. I need to actually spend some time watching a few things and decompress, because this actually, for me, as much as you might think so, I'm a bit of an introvert in some ways. Like usually I don't warm up to somebody until I warm up, and then you can't get me to shut up. Somehow I've taught myself that when I'm in front of a camera, it's like I'm friends with you. But in like reality, it's kind of taxing to get on camera and be everybody watching me and whatever. I'm like, oh, I gotta decompress. So after a while, I'm kind of stressed out after being on camera for a while. So it looks probably maybe to some like I'm just having a great time. And yes, I am. I'm having a great time, and I love true crime with a passion. But it also is a bit stressful.
That's where you bring in the whiskey and coats, bro. That's all you got to do. And
I do that sometimes.
Your big ass solo cup.
One of these will do it right here.
Yep.
I would love to do that more often, but my wife might say, if you do it 2 nights in a row, are you turning into an alcoholic?
No, I get it, 100%. And I get what you're saying. When I first started, I couldn't even go on camera for 3 months, and then I finally did it. And for probably the first year, like I'd be live for a couple hours, and then I was like, I feel like everybody's staring at me, or something's wrong. I gotta be off of it or something. I get a little paranoid, so I do get it.
Yeah, it's been an adjustment for me for sure, but I feel like I'm doing pretty well. I've settled into a routine, and I'm feeling pretty comfortable.
You do a great job, brother. You do a great job.
We're making great friends again. Once again, Dago, your channel and my channel, what a great relationship it is. Yeah. What a great blessing it is to have NYPD on the show on a regular basis, EMT and firefighters on the show. Like we're so blessed to have a community of people who have the experience, the life experience. So look, let me tell you how it really is, not just in theory, but how it really is on the streets.
It's very
invaluable.
Very well rounded. I think it's become very well rounded, and I really appreciate that as well. I mean, having we have Senior Wazowski in the house, but I'm very grateful to have met one now and have him part of the family, and vice versa, and you and Robin. And it's I talk about it to my wife now too. It's just an amazing thing. My moderators love it. My community loves it. Blah blah blah. They're all getting along well, and I love the whole thing. I love it all.
Oh yeah, and someone said, and I'm going to get to you, Robbins. Don't think I forgot you. Yes, people pointed out in the thing. What about all the attorneys? We have attorneys on the show. I've made friends. literally have attorneys that say, you can call me a friend. Like, I feel like we're on a friend's basis. We have attorneys that come on the show. What a blessing all of this is. And Robin has been amazing. Like, I work so much better in a team. If I didn't have a team and a partner that I can call a partner and work with hand in hand, and Robin's there every fucking day. Like, Robin's texting me every day, multiple times a day. She's asking me, hey, where's your this? Where's your that? Don't forget you have to do this. She keeps me on my toes. Same kind of situation, just constantly in my ass all the times. Like, hey, what are you doing? Like, we have a symbiotic relationship where we just constantly talk to each other all the time. And if you guys weren't my partners in this kind of thing, I don't know that I would be doing this. Like, I think you guys have really, kept me on my toes, and I can't wait.
The Blue Crew's the same group of people. That's the same thing I say. Same thing I go through.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks is we got so many people on the back end that don't get credit, like Amanda and Cat Farm, and and all these other people who are doing there's tons of people. There's more, just like you said, Dago, when we were talking backstream, that people sometimes they just want to help out, but I feel guilty because it's like I want to reward people. I want to give them credit. I want to help them out with things, and we
will get to do that one day. We will get to do that. That's absolutely.
I think so. I think so. Yep. We have to get a little bigger. A little bigger. Yeah, because we're not paying any bills. I'll tell you that much right now.
No. They're patient. That's a good thing, is they're all patient too. And they here's the thing I've realized, Lee. They love us as much as we love them, and they want us to be the best we can be. Like you said, if it weren't for the Blue Crew, I wouldn't be sitting here. They know that. And they do that daily. Every one of them serves a different purpose. Okay. Every single one of them serves a different purpose. And I couldn't do this. I say this every day. I would not be here, nor could I do this without every single one of them. One is constantly in my ass. Just kidding.
All right, so that reminds me of one of the archers. I think phrasing. Like one is not literally in my ass.
That was great, Birdie.
It's not an easy place to be.
Welcome, Birdie. Thanks for coming in and dropping the humor. That was a great timing to come in and remind me that in my ass all the time.
Yes. Perfect time. Exactly. Lucy's purpose is to scream at me every day. Absolutely.
All right. I think that's good for now. I'm going to call it a night. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll do it again. I can't wait to another attack at everything, and watch out for my drops. I got a drop tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., breaking down the Luigi Mangione and what I think my prediction is, how the judge is going to rule and how that's going to impact the state case going forward in 2006. That's a big thing tomorrow. The day after that, I got a good breakdown. I think it's solid stuff about why police departments might be incentivized to go after living suspects, so that when somebody dies and there's a dead person to go after, that doesn't get you money. What gets you money is going after arrest, prosecution, trial, all the money that comes along with putting somebody in jail that's a living suspect. Can that lead to incentivizing you to go after people, because that's where the money is at? So take a look at those. Tell me what you think. Can't wait to talk about it again. Take it easy.
Have a great night, everybody.
Good night, guys.